Wake.Show, as everybody knows, a show needs an intro. This is that intro. I am Fisher, your host. Welcome to this Friday. I have a special show, bringing in some of my old friends. My old friend Nate. Almost nailed it. Almost rhymed it there. Nate Farmer, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I did not know that was live.
Really?
While you were doing that, I was like, he's just trying to warm up his business.
No, that's live every single. I'll explain here in a second why I do it that way. But my guest host today, Stephen Aferis. Welcome back. All right, good. Like I said, every time you come in, it's because it's always in my head, a Ferris or a Forrest. I guess you probably wouldn't even care.
Either way, yeah, it doesn't even bother me.
A Forrest sounds a lot more swank, though.
It's got like an ethnic vibe to it of like, oh yeah, probably comes from royalty.
I was gonna say a Ferris is what sounds like maybe your grandfathers changed their name to when they got here.
Sure,
but now since everybody likes Europeans so much, a Forrest sounds a little, I don't know, Frenchy.
It's as Greek as it gets, but it can go either way. You know, I can dance around the ethnicities as needed.
It's interesting you bring that up. I had a guest in here a couple weeks ago, Nate. And let's do this here. I had a guest. Well, while we're doing that,
I'm trying to share this. By the way, that's what I'm trying to do.
You share. I'll talk to the people. Welcome. By the way, my wife says hi. Hi, Nate.
Hey.
All right.
She's a peach, and she's got some hot friends, bro.
Thank you. I mean, wait, what?
Well, I mean, seriously, your wife has some hot friends.
Okay, man. Yeah. And what do you think of my wife? Is she good looking too, or is just her friends hot?
Your wife is actually, you outkicked your coverage.
Oh yeah,
you really did.
I'm okay with that.
But I mean, when I start to speak on women and how I find them attractive, I would rather not exactly talk about your wife the way I would talk about most of them. I don't think you would appreciate that. She's a smoke show, buddy.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Thanks for being respectful too.
You got it.
Are you being respectful to me, or are you being respectful because you know she's watching?
Mostly to her.
Okay.
I've never. No, I'm just.
All right, so the likes and shares, we really appreciate that. You can see Nate's doing that right now. Invite your friends to the conversation today. We'll be hitting a couple of things. We'll be talking about the Wake.Show. Also, today is a very special day. It's Friday, so the shame game today. We'll be hitting the shame game a little bit later on in the show, and the shame game is it's a ploy by this show to try to get us to judge less by only judging once a week. And so we bring up people who have just recently been arrested. Their mug shots are online, and we go through a handful of them, and we guess what they did. Then we'll click on it, and we'll see how wrong we are, and then we feel bad at the end for judging people based on merely their mugshot, and that teaches us a lesson that only lasts 1 week, and so that's why we have to do it on a weekly basis.
That sounds like actually a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. We'll get to that. Oh, yeah, it also exposes your own prejudices, bigotry, and whatever you have stored inside. Nikki Cooper, good morning.
Stored inside? I wear that stuff on my sleeve.
All right. Oh, please. Chris McCarty will be back next week. I believe. I don't know. Let's talk about. Well, we can talk about the show. But first, hold on. I just had a brain fart. We were right before the show. We were talking about something that we didn't discuss yesterday. And all right. So here's where we're starting today. Thank you very much for your help, everybody.
You got it.
Marijuana. Oh. Yeah, and that was a perfect way to set it up. I can't remember what we were going to talk about, man. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk a little marijuana. And so Nate and I go way back to high school. Mm-hmm. Back in those days, I was close to straight edge. I didn't really drink, and I think I drank once or something, twice in high school, but it really wasn't my thing.
And how would you describe me if you describe yourself as close to straight edge? What was I?
Jagged edge.
I was pretty rough around those edges.
Jagged edge, and so marijuana to me was never even a consideration. Where I grew up, where I'm from, and
opioids were a much bigger.
Well, that's. I think that was in the later years. I don't know if they were an issue back in the 80s. Well, to me, I mean, like a lot of people, I grew. Marijuana was for losers. That's
yeah.
I didn't mean it that way. When did you first partake, Nate?
When
12.
I was 12.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that story.
Yeah,
12 years old.
Yeah.
Was it forced on you?
Renee Mancini. I don't know if she's still alive or not.
She's probably happily married and, has children now.
Not when you know the story. Okay. There's no way she was not headed down that path. All right. Renee, we used to call her, because her last name was Mancini, and we used to call her Boom Boom. Renee Boom Boom Mancini, which, there was
the best nickname I've heard in 10 years.
Well,
it's tremendous.
There was a Ray Boom Boom Mancini, who was a professional boxer, championship boxer at the time. So that's what we called her. And she was boom boomish, You
mean, when you say boom boomish, do you mean like she's a big girl, or she had, she was stacked?
She was big in places.
Big in places, okay.
So
her biceps.
Her biceps mostly, yeah.
I bet biceps.
Brilliant eyes. And she, at 12 years old, out behind the skating rink there in Fairfield, Ohio, is where I did marijuana for the first time, and she shotgunned me.
Oh,
and then it was
novice,
and then it was downhill from there.
I get it though.
Well,
wait. You don't know what a shotgunning means?
I think I filled the blanks in. I'm assuming it's mouth to mouth.
Kinda.
Yeah.
But back then, we had joints back then. I'm telling you what, I'm going to sound like an old guy. Millennials have ruined marijuana. They have absolutely ruined it. There's just no way to partake in this without losing your mind anymore. So I don't even partake anymore. Everything's too strong. About, buddy. Everything's too strong for me.
You are right. As a matter of fact, we'll get into it in a second. But I had to take some of my stuff, my medical stuff, back because of exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, last time I tried it, I'm like, I want to be like all my musician friends. They all do it. It's like it levels them out. They're all day long. But for me, I did like this. Like that, I thought, I want to eat a pizza, watch a movie, laugh a lot, and then go to sleep and sleep the sleep of angels.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for. And when I was a kid, you would smoke a whole joint by yourself. Back when it was illegal. But it was skunky and it wasn't bad. But the thing was,
you could function afterwards because it wasn't that potent.
You could find your way home, right? And back then it was a lot like that 70s show. We would really go down into somebody's basement, sit at a round table, and everybody would have a joint. And there'd be 5 of you.
See, I thought you were all losers back then.
Oh, no. What we were is people that enjoyed a really good Aerosmith record. Is what we were. Yeah. We enjoyed Aerosmith. We enjoyed Funyuns. Because they were Funyun delicious. Thank you. Fish used to say that all the time.
Yeah, sorry. I still have plenty of dad jokes. My dad jokes have not gone away.
Your dad jokes started at 16, buddy. So, but that was just how it was. And like I said, Renee, she was the first one. But you'd take a joint, and you would turn it backwards, the lit side, into your mouth. And then you would blow, and it'd blow out a stream, and the other person, and of course, then, get this on camera, the other person would lift up your eyelids and blow it all in your eyes.
What?
Because it's supposed to make your eyes high.
Oh,
just a specific part of your body gets high.
There's membranes in that business.
Okay, good point.
By the way, I thought I knew what a shotgun was. I had no idea. I thought a shotgun was just when somebody blew it into your face.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
A shotgun has many different meanings for all different kinds of occupations.
All right.
So let's just talk about that one.
All right. So growing up, I was very anti all that stuff. I would, pretty close to straight edge. And
you were an athlete, and you were a good athlete.
No, I was not.
You were a hell of a catcher.
In Little League. I never even.
And in high school, all the way up towards high school.
We're all towards high school, right? Until
you
high
dropped out.
Thanks.
That's when we were growing up. I mean, I was smoking weed and quit playing Little League.
And so my friends would get involved, partake and whatnot. And I didn't think my friends were losers. Just to me, no. Actually, none of the people that I ran with really smoked pot, as far as I knew. And it wasn't until years later, almost 30 years old, that I tried, for the very first time, and it really didn't do anything. It made me go to sleep, right? It just kind of made me go to sleep. Well, then years later, when I'm on Ambien to try to go to bed at night, when I'm on Ambien to get up in the morning and go to work, just kidding. When I'm on Ambien to go to bed at night, I was dating this person, and she was a proponent. And she goes, you know, hey, you want some pot? I'm like, no, I don't smoke pot. What kind of person do you think I am?
So much better.
And I go, it just puts me to sleep. Ding. And I went, hold, please. And I went, oh, wow. Now I could lay down. My brain's not on fire, keeping me up all night long.
Yeah, and you're not waking up making eggs in the middle of your sleep.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with the Ambien. Or, yeah, you're right.
Crazy.
Yep,
Driving to the store to get groceries and then coming back. Those are some true stories, man, and they're terrifying.
Did you go down that path?
No, never.
Okay.
No, I've just heard all the horror stories about whatever the sleeping aid is that's not marijuana, and people just do the craziest stuff.
And they mostly center around, have you noticed when you hear the stories about Ambien, they seem to center around a lot of things like doing chores.
Yeah, like daily routine tasks.
I need to take Ambien during the day to take care of my to-do list. I woke up at noon, didn't even know it, started doing laundry.
Didn't even know
all my stuff was folded and pressed. I should not have been using an iron in my sleep, but, you know.
Wide awake at the crack of noon.
So let's hit a couple of these things here. Nikki, I missed 2 days of the show. Work was insane. Oh, well, welcome back, Nikki. It's good to have you back. Adam, oh my God, I'm glad I tuned in. Never thought I'd see this. Adam Hazel was after you. After you, but was an intern of mine there for a little while at 97X, and then became a producer and then an engineer there. Was at the company for a little while.
That's how you work your way up. You know how many times I've had to try to tell people, you in radio, you want to get into radio? Well, first of all, don't do it now. It's dead. It's absolutely dead. It's been dying. It's been dying ever since satellite radio came, and they did not. They just always thought that it was going to be a fad that passed them by. And just like the record industry, instead of embracing the technology, they tried to fight it. And they're the dodo, man.
Well, maybe you're right on that. And you were definitely right about that at the beginning. But I think that radio... there are those radio companies that are making those moves, and they realize that times have changed. But you're very right about the beginning. And when everybody else, you know, that's on the radio or in promotions or in engineering can see what the future is going to be, it doesn't matter because the guys at the top, they're still they're the way they see the business world is very different. Like no, you need to make this new stuff work with our old ways, and so it takes a little time. But I think radio has, over the past, especially 5 years, really made some leaps and bounds in what they're doing.
Well, I think especially in the genre that we worked in, I think that them reverting back to the old formats, we worked in alternative rock.
Sure.
And we saw the bastardization of a beautiful format. A format, not a genre. You know, it used to be a catch-all for music that did not have a place within a particular genre.
Right.
And alternative rock stations early on made it music safe for the consumption of the popular masses.
But for whatever reason, Nate, over the years, because there's been
Marcia and I were talking about this yesterday. She goes, "Why I'm listening to Lithium on satellite radio? She's like, I'm hearing Dave Matthews songs on there. I'm like, Dave Matthews, Hootie and the Blowfish, Alanis Morissette, they all got their start on alternative rock radio and became huge pop or...
Oh, she was questioning why Dave Matthews was
on it.
Oh, okay.
It was a catch-all back then. I'm like, you'd be surprised. And then Tori Amos came on, or Suzanne Vega, followed by Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful mismatch of just really good music.
It's if it didn't fit in country or pop or mainstream rock and the other stuff that was out there, then they would try to pitch it to alternative, because if they can get some legs in alternative, like going back to Alanis Morissette, like he just referenced, people, it just didn't fit back then. If you think, well, you'd have to be old enough.
I mean, where would you put Alanis Morissette in the scope of that time when You Ought to Know came out? You couldn't put them on like we grew up in, and our first jobs in radio were XL 106.7.
Top 40, right?
Yeah, it
Pop
could
music.
not. Yeah, right there in Orlando. It wouldn't have been on XL in between Miami Sound Machine and Gloria Estefan.
Right.
Well, that's the same
there
band.
was no place for that.
But you're exactly right.
Same band.
Yeah, between TLC, between TLC and NSYNC or something like that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah. But it ended up working because it had to start in alternative rock first, and then the masses went, "Ooh, this is nice." Well, and then it starts to spread from there.
And just a thought.
And then you get sick of it.
What happened was pop went from a very particular sound to a very eclectic sound, where alternative went from a very eclectic sound to a very specific sound. The Five Finger Death Punches and the Disturbs and all that kind of crap, right? That all showed up and ruined it. They could have...
But that stuff was huge here in Tampa. Like, so it's market to market. So if you're in Tampa, a dirt rock town like Tampa, then you have to consider that. I remember you and I had...
But it's a falsehood. I mean, it's almost like the whole I listened to jazz thing, and jazz radio was so popular, and what it was a bunch of middle-aged old white guys writing down I listened to jazz every day. Lying. Turns out they were getting the best advertising dollars because their demographic was...
Let me unpack that just for here, because so what he's talking about right now is, if you've noticed on your radio stations in every single city, I don't know, there might be one out there, I don't know.
I think there's like 7 or 8
left. Okay. Jazz radio used to be a staple in every single market. You would have a jazz radio station, and they would bill well, meaning they would make a lot of money because their ratings would show that they had the right people, upper demo people making a lot of money listening to them.
Men of a certain age,
right? 25, 54 or 35, 54, whatever that was.
In their prime earning years, that paid 300, 400 grand for a house, drove a Mercedes-Benz.
So every year when every book when the ratings would come out, you'd see these numbers come out, and the jazz station would be doing well. But specifically in that demo, they'd be crushing it and making a lot of money. Well, that was back when people, the listener, would have to write down in what they called a diary, write down their listening habits for a week. So that's not necessarily
for the
ratings, and that wasn't necessarily an accurate system, because people would write down their favorite shows or their favorite radio station and put a big line and just go, I listen to them all day. But that's not really how people do it. So then the technology came along, and they threw away the diaries. And they had these little beeper-like things that people would wear. So it would listen, and this is what's happening today.
It was an early form of Shazam.
Yes. Yeah, in a sense.
It recognized the hooks of songs or something, right?
If there's a tone.
There was a tone.
Yep. Okay. So what he's saying is, it doesn't listen to the music that's on the radio station, but every radio station now has this tone that you can't hear, I can't hear, in the background. And it can hear that. And that tone is, designated to each radio station. So that gave a more accurate representation of who was listening and who wasn't listening. Well, once that happened, the dynamics changed a lot in radio. And one of those things was jazz stations went away because, come to find out, nobody was listening to them. And those...
But it was cool to say you were if you were at a certain age. It showed status.
Right.
I listen to jazz and smoke Cuban cigars, and my butt don't stink.
Yeah.
But their butts were stinking.
Yeah. And so next thing you know, we realized that the old doctors and dentists and lawyers that say they were listening to jazz were actually listening to the rap station and the alternative rock station and the hard rock station and all these other things. And so all their jazz stations went away. All right, a couple of these comments before we move on. Let's see here. I met Napoleon when we did the Blink trivia thing, and you stole my tickets.
I stole the tickets. I don't
know.
You know what? The fact that you remember that's awesome. The fact that I don't is just...
The next line goes, you may not remember that.
I definitely don't. But, sorry. You probably missed a good show. They were a good band back then.
Let's see here. Chris says, this is so true. I think you can't say radio is dead as a whole in this country, because up north in Boston, they have tons of stations, and they're on the FM dial, not mainstream, and are still a catch-all for music. Yeah, I know. I've heard that a lot, that radio's dead. And listen, I'm not on the radio anymore. I'm in this space because I know this is the future. Somewhere out here is the future of everything. But I'm also not so naive to think that eventually the thing is, corporations just move a lot slower. And when you're that size, when these trends happen from in that level, you see these kinds of trends starting to happen all the time.
You can't afford to be slow anymore. The technology's outpacing this stuff.
That's a great point.
And it's coming out so fast. But I understand that slow and steady has always been the safest way to do it. You grow a big foundation, but you never grow big. You're not going to be able to grow big anymore. anymore. You may have a strong foundation, and places like Boston and DC, and actually places like Tampa, where radio was such a integral part, the fabric of a community.
Part of the identity of Tampa was been radio. Has been radio.
Everybody from Ron and Ron to Bubba and MJ
and BJ back in the day.
I mean, these were and our,
but even
Ron
going further
Ron
back,
were my heroes.
But even right before them too, you had the Morning Zoo that started, or Breakfast Club, Scott Shannon, and all those Cleveland Wheeler and all those guys.
Oh, this market had such and I've lived all over the country now at this point. If in Knoxville, where I live right now, if I asked anybody off the street, just name me one radio personality in town, nobody off the top of their head.
Where? In
Knoxville.
What town? In Knoxville. Okay.
And when people go, oh, you did radio, where you do it? Where did you do it? And they thought maybe I was doing it in Knoxville. I'm like, nah, I was in Tampa, man. I've done it in Tallahassee, Daytona, Orlando, and Tampa. Been around a little bit. There is no place in Florida that has a radio market like Tampa. And when that initial comment that the fellow made that you were addressing, when he said it's not going away or this, that, and the other, or that it's actually in some of these places still thriving. I don't know how much Michael Sharkey had to do with it at 97X here in town, but when I came back to visit, you were still there at 97X, Fish, and I went in to visit Shark because I loved the guy.
He's the program director.
He was the program director. I loved him. I don't know what happened when you left or if there's ever.
I love the guy. He's moving back to town. I can't wait for him to get to town.
Although I thought Brooklyn was the place for him. I thought he was very Brooklyn guy.
By the way, I do want to tell you a story of my wife wanted to punch him after he fired me. She wanted to confront him one night, and
my mom wanted to punch the vice president. What was that? Chuck? Jay Connor. My mom at the party. He showed up at the party. I'm leaving radio party. He showed up to it, and my mom's like walked up and said, "Thank you for firing my son."
Oh my gosh!
Ooh. I was tired of him having to deal with you, or something to that point. Oh my
gosh!
You remember that? Oh, criminy! That was a crazy party. But I digress. The fact is that when I came back to visit after being away a couple of years and walked into that radio station, I was like, "Oh my God, where is the Avenged Sevenfold? Where's all this?" It turns out Michael Sharkey, or under whose orders, or maybe his idea, rolled back the time on alternative radio, and all of a sudden I heard the Pixies on it again. He was bringing back 97X back to almost what he's like. He even told me, he's like, we're bringing back some of the 90s music, early 90s music, peppering it in to remind people we're an alternative rock station.
Well, it is not. It's far from that these days.
Did it go back to?
Well, here's the I love it.
Did it go back to drop D?
No. Okay, so that's the period that I wasn't the biggest fan of. And what he's talking about, you're talking about the years of Chevelle, Stained, and all of those bands that were in there.
But when I left, it's like the whole time I was at 97X and we started playing that stuff, I would say to Michael all the time, I'm like, we had a choice in this genre to follow the Hives, the Vines, and the White Stripes, or to follow the Nickelbacks, the Stains, the Limp Bizkits. And you guys chose the Stains, the Limp Bizkits. You don't think
they tried, or we tried to do both back then?
No. I think that the White Stripes, we heard Fell in Love with a Girl, and we played that, and then they disappeared. And to most people, you would have thought they went away.
It was a Seven Nation Army.
Seven Nation Army.
But they was putting out a ton of music, but they weren't getting airplay until Seven Nation Army again.
I'll say this, Nate. Listen, because I still listen today.
Sure. Now, I don't. I'm obviously
right.
In
you're
a
not even in
state.
town. You're in a different
state. Yeah.
I like the radio musically. I like the radio station better now than when I was there.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
But let me tell you something, because recently I was talking to the new program director there, and we were just like, whatever, and she said, "Hey, listen, why don't you listen for a little bit and give me, kind of your point of view on it?" So I sat down like you would in the old days as a consultant. You'd start listening and writing down every little thing that's happening, and so I just listened for an hour this one particular day, and it's all basically the newer music, music that came out in the last few years. And I loved every single song. Yes, it's a little bit more in that pop alternative, but I love it. I love it.
Very good.
And here's the interesting thing: Green Day's "American Idiot" or one of those came on, and you know what note I put?
What?
Sounds out of place.
That's maybe it did.
I was listening as a I was listening in a very different, not as Chris Fisher. I was listening in
alternative radio changes,
and I go, wow. I can't believe that.
The times change. I know, but that's very telling, because it has to evolve and change. And the problem is that when you went into the era of the Chevelles and a Perfect Circles, and we all can say Maynard's a genius. I believe we can, but let's say that was the sound everybody was trying to produce.
It was a sludgier sound that had a little bit more of a grind to it, as opposed to something that was precise and melodies and all of that working together.
In that genre, which had happened to all the other genres, the record companies went, "Oh, this is a viable sound. I want this band. We just signed this band. Let's talk to this band. We want you to sound more like this." There became a sound for it, and everything became contrived.
But here's the thing. But here, you know why, right?
Hives, Vines, and White Stripes did not. It sounded genuine.
But that's because radio transitioned starting in 1996, when in Washington D.C. they passed the telecommunications bill, which deregulated the industry, which then made radio palatable and exciting for big corporations, because beforehand you're like, no, we can only buy 2 radio stations. That's not enough of a market share.
Yeah.
But now, after that happened, we can get 6, 7, 8 radio stations under our belt. Then we'll move in. So now they're applying the same rules that they've been applying to every other one of their industries and products and this and this and this to radio. And so you're right.
Efficiency and to lower the overhead, be more efficient, and that way they can make more money. And that's a great business model for anything, unless what your product that you're serving up is an art. Mm-hmm. And what they started doing is they would have these farms, these banks of people, of DJs or listeners in, say, Missouri. And they'd bring them in this room. Everybody would wear headphones. They would play a song in the headphones, and the people had a dial that they would switch all the way to the right for like it a lot, all the way to the left for don't like it, right in the middle for okay.
They still do that
They still do that. Yeah. But the thing is that because now these corporations had so many radio stations all over the place, they started to apply the tastes of the people in Missouri to the taste of people here in Tampa, and that just
Nate,
when they sent us consultants, that when we would walk out of a meeting with some of these consultants, smoke would be coming out of both our ears.
Right, but there were sample. I mean, I was part of those a lot of research studies, and they're done here in Tampa with people in Tampa, but
they weren't for a while.
There might be, I would say, in the smaller markets. In a smaller market, they might be relying on the research from a Tampa or somewhere in Missouri, but Tampa, they spend their own money on their own research. And, but
the thing is that Tampa's an anomaly among radio markets.
That is true.
First of all, there is no way. First, Howard Stern coming to this market
didn't work.
Was tame. Heck, we were
that is
crazier.
A great point.
We were crazier than Howard Stern when we were on the air. Yeah. And we were the third less nutty people on the air.
Third or fourth, right? Because you would have had Bubba and then MJ's show and Orlando. Orlando was always still kicking ass at Wild. And then us. Yeah.
But then our third day on the air in Tampa was at Wild 98.7. We were the first morning show at Wild 98.7. Our third day on the air, our boss, which is a whole nother story, Dr. Dave, I'll throw his name out there. He's an idiot. I thought so. I had no problem saying the guy was a moron.
I run into him every now and again. He's all right. We've made amends.
Good.
He fired us too.
Yeah. I know how to make friends with a guy. But anyway,
that day. So we call him the office, and he's a character. He's very much a character. This great, very, very.
He's a lunatic.
Okay, and Nate, from his perspective, he's a lunatic.
No, that's absolutely my perspective. Nobody else's. I'm not saying that you don't hire the guy for something. I'm saying that personally, I think he's a lunatic. Okay. I'm not trying to hurt the guy or begrudge him anything.
No, of course not.
He obviously did some things good.
Sharon, by the way, says, "Oh my God, you guys together again, my best dream." If you're just tuning in and trying to figure out who this ranting lunatic is over here in the corner calling other people lunatics, that is Mr. Nate Farmer, a dear friend of mine going back to high school. He and I did the first show that I ever had as a morning show where I was the host of the show. He was a part of that in Tallahassee, and then we went on to Daytona to work together as a morning show, and then here in Tampa twice. First at Wild 98.7 for 3 months before Dr. Dave came in and goes, you don't sound like the radio station. You're fired.
Third day on the air. Bubba had porn stars stuffing things up their private places. That's not what he said, but that's
something to
that effect. What did you guys do?
I remember what it was. I remember what you're talking about.
You remember it?
Yeah.
So right. And so the next day,
hold on. I remember the specific. Oh, what? Go ahead with the next day.
Well, the 2 days later,
and Steven, I'm so sorry that you haven't even got a chance to get into this conversation.
You don't understand, though. You guys both did this impression, and they both started.
Hey, you have no idea.
It's tremendous. Good, right? You guys are getting that exact point of personality from this one guy in the exact same way. But yeah, tell me what happened.
You sound like a redneck. Try saying, tomorrow I want you to say, "Give me some mo." 4 times.
Oh my God, that's right.
Get out of town.
Flip mode's the greatest.
Oh my God.
So it's going to be 89 degrees today. Give me some mo. And then we're going to go on with the other thing. That's how it was.
I'm glad that Nate's got comfort too. You can tell he's getting comfortable when he starts leaning into that microphone.
Oh God, though.
So I remember I think I remember what you're talking about. He came in that first week we were there, and he goes, MJ had O.J. Simpson on the air today. Was it or something like that?
Yeah,
it was like it was somebody huge.
It was O.J.
It
was O.J. He was looking for a house. Remember?
And you guys were talking about whatever we were talking about on the air today, and we're just like, I mean, yeah, you're right. He outdid. He had O.J. today. We didn't.
Do you but that's so nearsighted, because do you want to get the ratings from O.J. Simpson being on your show?
But that's not.
It's a little bit.
Yes, that was the point.
That's the thing. Yes,
that was Tampa.
Right.
That was the thing. We were safe to do anything here. Except for killing a pig, you could just about do anything in this town.
Well, you couldn't even do that because he didn't get away with that either. That was a big setback for him. There was legal ramifications, monetary ramifications. So Tampa does have a line. And it's at slaughtering animals on the radio.
It's a good line. If you're going to have a line, let's put it right there, perhaps, for that line.
Man, the stuff that would happen. I mean, you got to understand, during Billy Graham's stuff that we did, during Billy Graham's last crusade, is that what he called him when he went around?
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about.
He was his last big stadium tour. His big stadium tour. He was at Raymond James, sold out Raymond James like 3 straight nights.
Yeah.
All right, this was while we were at Wild.
Right,
because
so this was 1998.
We called Darlene
20 years ago, buddy.
Yeah,
20 years ago.
Yeah, Darlene back in Daytona Beach that we used to work with, someone that we used to use on the air as just great personality, and we thought that Billy Graham was such a nice guy, and but that people couldn't relate to him anymore. He was the only televangelist that never got in trouble.
Oh, that was the premise of the bit.
Yeah, so we were going to make him more likable by giving him a little
bringing
bit
him
of
down
dirty,
a notch.
by bringing him down a notch. So, are you really getting anxiety about this?
I look back at my career, and I know you can't play that regret game and da-da-da.
There's a lot of stuff I do regret. I regret how mean I was to people. You know, Seth, I was terrible to Seth. I think he was a whiny little bitch, but I mean, I shouldn't have told him that every day.
You just said you feel bad for being mean, and then
no,
and then as the memories flood back,
at this point in his life, he has to know that he was a bitchy beta male.
It maybe, but I'll tell you what, he is an incredible man. An incredible
Good for him.
Man.
I'm glad.
And in so many different ways, man. So many different ways.
I really liked the guy, but
Obviously.
he would. I did. I really liked
you also, because I would have ended up with all this negative stuff, because in the end too, you kind of saw him as the guy that slid in and took your job, right?
No.
Okay.
No. When I left, you got to understand, I was ready to go. I was done.
I remember. Yep.
I was absolutely done. I looked at it and I'm like, this has used me up. I don't like the person that I became. I don't like the people around me.
Except for Marcia.
Well, except for Marcia. You got to think, how many people do I come back and visit?
Marcia.
You and Marcia are the only people when I come back. I always talk to you when I come back. I mean, you have your thing. I'm like, what's he doing this time? What's he on? But it's no, I'm just
it's only funny. It's only funny. Everybody, Trump promise you, everybody's laughing. Anybody that knows me is laughing. Because you're right. I'm always. It's like, all right, what's fit? He's either on some trendy diet. He's having some mental health issue. What's going on?
Oh, I'm worried about you sometimes.
Yeah, well, thank you, buddy.
I know, but I know you've worried about me before in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody gets to worry about somebody at some point. Yeah. But hell, man,
but you're doing all right.
I love you,
Nate. So Nate left radio after that and went on to. He learned how to cut hair. He always had this passion for hair. Oh. He's very artistic as well. So this was one of the ways that he would express himself was in hair. Go ahead, make your jokes now, but. We did back then too. But then to watch him then take that to the next level and to the next level and become an award-winning hairstylist and then get his own shop and become the shit there in Knoxville.
Yeah.
You're living your life. You're living your truth, your dream, and that's amazing.
Well, thanks, man. But I had to get stuff together. I really had to get my life together. And look, I don't have it all together. I've just kind of accepted I never am. That I'm just always going to be I try not to be as definite about things because I know that I'm going to absolute about things because I know things are absolutely the way they are at a given time, but I accept the fact that can change eventually. I still talk in absolutes, all right, but that's just always going to be me. By the way, so this way I can write this trip off. Make sure if you're ever in Knoxville, you come into Nate's Gentleman About Town. Fine gentlemen's haircuts.
Would you like me to do the voiceover for that?
Yeah, give it a shot.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next time that you're in Knoxville, Tennessee, make sure you stop in to what?
Nate's Gentleman About Town.
Nate's Gentleman About Town. Nate's Gentleman About Town. Stop into Nate's Gentleman About Town.
You see, IRS, there was a reason for me to fly down here. Writing up some plane tickets.
A couple of comments before we move on. Don't forget, we do have the Shame game today. Well, geez, there we go again. How do I do that? Oh, I think when I push that button and turn this at the same time, that's when I mess everything up.
Whoa,
it's like operating a woman.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's wrong. Oh yeah, so here's what we're gonna do.
Thanks.
I'm gonna
pocket full of them.
That was a good one.
We'll turn off the video for a second as we read some of these comments and reset that, just like we did yesterday. It worked.
Perfect.
I like that workaround. So Chris says, I think eventually. So going back to the radio discussion, I think eventually the radio will take a shit as a whole for sure. Those places just have more money and resources right now. Talking about the bigger markets like Boston. If radio was not dead, we wouldn't have a show like this.
It's true.
It's not. That's very interesting.
Where do you see this going, though, from the two of you? Because I know you guys have both talked about the state of where it is now versus where it was and the state of podcasting. And we got our good digs in on Chevelle, which is great.
By the way, if Send the Pain Below comes on, I'm going to turn it up and sing it out loud. It was a fun song to sing.
My question is this. Why are we listening to the radio? I personally really don't. When you go to St. Pete or you go to Ybor, and the music that's out there is better than anything I'm hearing on the radio right now.
And has been for the last 20 years.
It's not even close with some of the bands that are out there. There's Sahi, right off the top of my head. There's a band called Beer Wolf, which who doesn't want to go see a band called Beer Wolf?
When I was here,
I don't understand what the next level is supposed to be and how radio fights back when I'll just go buy a ticket to a show. I'd rather buy a ticket to a show and go see a show somewhere in St. Pete than let you play me music for free. That's at how big of a radio disadvantage is right now. I don't know what you guys think about that, though.
It's always I always thought, and I used to say this to Fisher when I come in after a night of partying like I used to. Mm-hmm. I used to be terrible.
I'd come in sometimes. He's already at the studio. Just sleeping there on the floor, waiting for me to come in
with the mic pulled all the way down to my face.
God, it's efficient. So efficient.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I would do the show from my back one time. Oh, that was the worst. That was a hateful night. It was after doing that tequila bar. That I had to do a gig at a tequila bar,
right,
and then be on the air at 6 o'clock the next morning.
Did you have just the raddest spins, having to lay on your back to get everything equalized?
I had the sweats. I probably stunk to high heaven. You know, I was a mess back then, man. I was an absolute mess, and I was one of the worst people to have to deal with. Working, I mean, I know I could look at people like I wasn't so bad on some of my immediate bosses. I mean, I know sometimes Shark would have to take a look at me and go, oh my God. I was easy on Chuck Beck.
Okay. Yeah, he was the operations manager at
he
the
was
time.
very
a
easy.
bigger boss.
I was actually...
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why do you think that you were so horrible? Because I look back at that time, and I know we were going through some stuff. You know, we're growing as a show. I know that you were doing your thing.
I was at a point in my life where, even though I've always been, as it turns out, probably always been like a libertarian type leaning person.
Okay.
I didn't begrudge what people had, but I thought people that came from certain circumstances were absolutely out of touch with the real world, and I thought that they were probably responsible for trying to hold people back. So I would see...
So you would take those opportunities with our big bosses, your Jay O'Connors or Keith or whoever, and try to get that dig in, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I never had
disguised
that
as Napoleon character?
I loved Keith. And always thought the world of Keith until I got fired and realized that he was kind of had an instrument in that. And when oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. When our buddy,
sure,
he was at Nissan.
Oh, Mark Perryman.
Mark Perry. Oh, thank you. God, I can't believe it. When
he's up in your neck of the woods now.
Is he? Awesome. I got to look him up.
Yeah, I think he's in Nashville.
Awesome. When Mark Perryman, who was a big sponsor signer for like the next big thing and sponsored the stages and all that kind of big money, he found out from other radio stations that they were going to fire me. And he called up our radio station, says, if you fire Napoleon, I'm ripping up this check. And he had to bring Keith down there to explain to him why they were going to fire me. Well, it bought me another 6 months or something.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So, I mean, there was stuff. There was, I know that there were a lot of things involved with me leaving. And our show had sucked for a good 3 months. Oh, it did.
I never... I have psychological issues approaches. So very rarely do I come off a show and go, man, great show. Now, I take that back. You'll see that come out of my hole in my head and high five people.
Convince yourself.
Yeah, I'm convincing myself. Or the people are like, hey, great job, everybody. But as soon as I go, there's something that just starts to eat at me. Let me hit a couple of these things before we move on.
Sure.
And also, don't forget, we still have the shame game to coming up today. The shame game. And also, I'm going to try to figure out a way to include you back into this conversation.
Hey, man, I'm having a great time. You guys just have your conversation. I've injected my 2 cents when I could.
I apologize.
No, do not apologize. I'm enjoying this conversation. Hey, there are the times when I need to be the student and learn from the two of you. So I'm thankful to even be a part of this and to be able to split the two of you in this room. So don't even think twice about it, all right?
That's very kind of you. Very diplomatic of you. So a couple of these before we move on. Chris Brown. All right, Lisa. Napoleon and Fish just popped in to say hello. Great to see you both on the air again. Thank you so much. It was very kind of you. Chris goes, I like this guy. Do you think if we had a radio station with just the old alternative, like how we have classic rock, that would work? For instance, Ramones, Rancid, Sum 41, White Stripes, Sublime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and you keep including bands just like classic rock does at the 20-year mark.
Oh, so that's where you...
Yeah, which leads to another question. What band would become the Eagles of alternative rock if
I'll tell you
that?
right now. You didn't have to get that whole sentence out. The Chili Peppers.
You think the Chili Peppers make it over Green Day? Because
they're neck and neck, but
because the fact is that the Eagles were being played and were the biggest band on that particular active radio, rock and roll radio at the time.
Okay.
Before classic rock came up, but they had been doing it so long that as soon as they opened classic rock, they were on two different formats as one. They were on a current format and a classic rock format.
You can still hear that on the radio. You can hear the Chili Peppers like Under the Bridge simultaneously on 97X, the Eagle, and this is just all Cox Media Group stuff, the people I used to work for, and then Magic 94.9. Now, that might have changed these days.
Pearl Jam is closer to being the Eagles of our generation?
Well, from a research standpoint, and one of the things that I've learned over the years being a part of dozens of research projects, I love Pearl Jam. If I'm ranking all those bands and putting Pearl Jam at the top over Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden, Pearl Jam's my jam.
Okay.
But that is not the way it plays out in the ratings. Or I'm sorry, the research. And so now when you go back, you will not hear one Pearl Jam song on the alternative rock station that's in Tampa, Florida, market number 17 or 18. Yeah. You will not hear Pearl Jam. You will not hear Soundgarden. You will not hear Stone Temple Pilots. I bet you they'll probably play one Nirvana song, I would imagine. And then their golds now are in the Green Day and Red Hot Chili Peppers category.
And you'll hear plush acoustic once every 2 weeks.
Great
song.
Yeah,
so it's so great. But yeah, is
that still your go-to?
He's talking about karaoke now. Actually, it's not. I've dropped it. I host. Oh my God, Nate! Do you even know that I host karaoke every Wednesday night?
Which always makes me giggle
because I can't sing.
I was like, all right.
But here's the thing.
But you always have a great time doing it.
Yeah, back up a little bit there so that you're hitting that mic.
You get up there and probably do your little wormy dance.
No, man. I'm 46.
He's always had supple hips. And I swear it came from being like a catcher when he was a kid. Being able to jump up and fire that ball down to second. You got to have the hips that swing. And he used to have this thing for Hispanic girls. So he had to learn to dance like them.
That's smart. You just connect the dots. It's like, oh, see, I dance just like you. I guess we should.
What he's trying to say is my hips don't lie. They may not lie.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
They just don't tell the whole truth anymore. So I'm going to give you my professional opinion, Chris Brown, on that radio station. So if a radio station were to pop up right now in Tampa, Florida, and their core is Rancid, so you're basically going back to the early 90s, and Ramones, Rancid, Sum 41, White Stripes, Sublime. I think it would probably get good ratings for about 6 months, maybe a year.
That would have been like 96-ish, right? When those were mostly... It was a little bit post-grunge, right around the grunge era.
Well, Ramones goes back to the 70s.
Of course.
And but Rancid, was that late 80s? Did they start up in 89, 90, or was that... Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
They were Operation Ivy in 89.
Okay. So yeah, my thought would be they would be the talk of the town for a little bit, but would fizzle after. I don't know why, but what do I? I mean, I was in radio for 25 years. I guess I do have a certain perspective, but I don't know if I have the right perspective.
Well, the thing is by that setup, what you're doing is you're repeating the past.
Nostalgia, right? That's what classic
nostalgia,
rock,
but
right?
like I said, you're going to be every year adding a new song or a new group that was 20 years old at that point, just like they do with classic rock. After 20 years, such and such becomes classic, and they move it down.
So what you're saying is it can
eventually we're going to become the Chevelles again.
Oh, that will eventually turn into okay.
You see, you're going to move down that line, and you're going to move through the history of alternative rock, where it is just going to become a messy diaper again.
Well, but I mean, a messy diaper to you, you're more of an alternative kind of guy.
I'm a music geek.
You're a music geek, so when somebody says there's an alternative rock station, you turn on and you go, that's not alternative rock. That's mainstream alternative.
Right.
Well, you got to think the Chevelle era of music, and really, I mean.
What did you think of Linkin Park back then? What do you think of Linkin Park as we got into the 2000s?
Linkin Park had moments. They had moments.
I'll go with that.
And they were, but there's something special about a band when you turn it on, you automatically know it's that band. They have a sound, an AC/DC or
Linkin Park. I think Linkin Park's in that category now.
Yes, except for there's a slight difference. You turn it on and you know instantly it's that band, but you don't know instantly which song.
Okay.
All right.
Now, when we're talking about alternative, there's a band I'm going to throw into this conversation because with what your guys are defining as alternative, I always think of this band because they get zero radio play, and they're about to release a 10th album in September. Thrice.
Not
a fan.
I don't have an opinion.
Don't know.
Okay. Thrice.
Tell me.
I know Thrice. I want to say from the Warped Tour, or
probably
they would be on something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe would have seen them along the way. I remember the name, but obviously. Well, here's the thing. I am not a music geek.
Don't know.
I'm not a music geek.
I envy you for the experiences you're about to have on your flight back to Knoxville.
Excellent. I will download Thrice. What about Once and Twice? Should I check them out?
Very clever.
I'm pretty sure that's in the dad joke category.
Yeah, it was my granddad's joke.
I was worried it was
my
actually like a
granddad
97X. Like we used to play them back in the day. You didn't know Once and Twice, and I was gonna be like, oh yeah, I like their earlier stuff before they kind of sold out. Having to like walk it back. But yeah, they did stuff where it was like they had an album and it was the elements. They did air, fire, water, and earth, and it doesn't fit anywhere. And when you think about what 97X and alternative is, that's their perfect area. Like, hey, check this out because it's 16 tracks, 24 tracks of music you've never heard before. It's bizarre and it's fantastic.
Well, that's cool, but so was A Perfect Circle. And was it Tool or A Perfect Circle that we had to listen to an 8-minute long Lateralis?
Both.
Tool. Yeah.
We had to drop.
Schism.
Schism. You're going away for a while. You're going down that.
We would get in fights.
I'm like, can we drop this? And Fisher's like, we can't drop it this time.
Here's the thing.
We used to both want to drop, but we'd get in so much trouble because they paid for ads.
Well, who paid for ads?
Somehow they paid for ads.
I didn't know that's. Well, here's my recollection of it.
Okay.
Is it's an 8-minute song, right?
Yeah, sure.
So that's technically 2 songs in my world. That is more than 2 songs in my world. Well, we had a song count that we had to hit in the morning, so I don't know if the time was 8 or 10 or where we were at that time.
Yeah.
But let's say we had to play 8 songs an hour in morning drive. Well, if that was in there, that means 4 less minutes, which is not a lot of talk time to begin with in morning drive. 8 songs in an hour. That's not a lot of talk time for us. So you add in an 8-minute song in that, and that takes even more away. And my ego could never wrap around that. I would be angry because in my mind, what we had to say, the content we're trying to put out is more compelling, interesting than any effing song you're ever going to put on the radio. And then especially when we get the songs like Bush Come Down, that's another 5-minute song that somebody's heard 1 million times. It would make me even more angry at the time. My narcissism would kick in nicely. And
No. Hey, buddy, look, it isn't narcissism. It isn't that. It's ego because and not just ego. What it is sometimes just being right. Look, we were good. There were times when we were really good. And as a matter of fact, our show back then is the closest thing to a radio show could get to what a podcast was. We were almost podcasting on a morning show back then. We would have ideas about what we were going to go, but like before we started this, Fish said, hey, we'll talk about that and blah, blah, blah. And that was it. And he's like, that's how we used to prep for a show. And
that's not really... No, that's how we prep for a break. But in the shows, once we got off the air, because we had stunts every day, we had a lot of stuff going on.
If you have a good podcast, you're going to be prepping for that podcast as well. All right, I know you're.
We just wouldn't lay out breaks, word for. I'm going to say this, and then you say that, and then I'll say this, and then you say that. It's like, all right, so the other thing we were talking about in the prep meeting yesterday, All right, this is what we're going to talk about now, and then leave the rest up to.
That's right. We were not afraid of dead silences at times. It took us forever to get over that. Once we did, that was even better. We used to have this thing. It was a non-said thing, and we realized a few years into it that we wouldn't laugh on air. We'd say something and make us laugh, and you could feel it. Nobody could speak.
Do you know? So that's something that became part of my character was not to laugh as much. But if you were in the studio, you'd see me going, and I would get back to it, right? Well, then that just kind of segue or then evolved into me just taking that beat to let that person go that, and I know that everybody else is laughing, but I'm just going to keep moving forward.
That's right.
But you know that I've had issues since with show partners that like they're not getting what they think they should get
from you,
from me. So they're like, was that not funny? I go, no, that was great. It's like, well, why didn't you laugh? that popped the room except for you. I'm like, no, but that's because I'm the guy pushing things forward. I have to keep my hand on the show.
Oh,
around.
Not only that, but there is a tension to good comedy. You know, Jimmy Fallon used to do it way too much on Saturday Night Live, where he'd break character and try not to.
Yeah.
Too much.
But the best, and I'm going to sound really old here.
Carol Burnett.
Oh no, that stuff still transcends.
Conway
If you watch that stuff
and
now,
Harvey
it's
Korman, those guys, and watching Harvey Korman not try to fall apart while Tim Conway is doing something ridiculous is amazing. And it's what you have to realize. It comes across timing wise on audio. If you're listening to the radio, you can't see us, and all of a sudden you just hear a joke obviously got said, and then there's complete silence, and then there's another beat, and there's still complete silence, and you know in your head you're sitting there laughing, and you know that there are people dying on the other end of this microphone.
Going like this. This is the way I pictured a lot. People going like this. Like, I can't believe they just said that. I can't believe they just did that.
That's our bosses. We're always doing this. But the fact is there was always a genuineness to our show when we were moving. There was always a genuineness to our show.
Do you remember the name John Swope? Remember John
Swope?
Yeah,
I love John.
There he is. Damn, you guys are the best.
Well,
right there.
Second Day Broadcast.
Yep, his band was Second Day Broadcast.
And he was also our sales guy. Loved him.
Do you remember the third thing that he did for us? At a concert? Be careful. This is a different time, man. It's a different time.
It's okay.
So, one of the characters from our old show.
Why did I just sound?
Yeah, I don't know what.
Sound like a retarded Italian.
So.
That's not good.
So. No, I think it was Italian.
No, it's starting to sound like retarded Scarface.
Jesus.
That's not good.
Do you guys still use the R word in Knoxville? We dropped it here in Tampa.
Is it still a word?
Hey, man,
what does
America.
It mean?
This is America. Knock yourself out.
Thank you.
So what he's talking about?
Say it again.
What he's referencing is a character on the show that was called Head and Dree Harry that did traffic. And it sounded it went a little. Let me do this instead. It went a little something like this. Uh-oh, we got an accident. Eastbound I-4. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you move over to the left just a little bit and use that pedal on the right. Keep your foot off the gas and go, go, go.
Woo, 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 woo.
I'm Head and Dree Harry. Peace out. So that's kind of how it went. Something like that. That is definitely. I don't think it's a bit I could do today. I don't think we could do it today.
You should do it every day, though.
I know why you're saying. I don't need to be an artist anymore. I don't need to push the envelope and make people go, no, don't tell me I can't do this or I can't live this lifestyle or I can't do this.
Yeah, no reason to do that anymore. I totally get it.
I'm 46. I did. You and I, me and Seth, you by yourself, me by myself, man. Mm-hmm. I have definitely tested the boundaries of who I am as a person, physically, spiritually, mentally, and I found my parameters. I'm good. I found my parameters. I don't need to keep seeing how far I can go before all of a sudden I can't go anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I figured it out when I had to start taking blood pressure medicine. I figured, oh Lord. I mean, you're just not going to be 20 forever. It's
right. It took a lot out of me. So still coming up on the show, we're going to get to the shame game here in just a couple of minutes. I do want to hit a couple more of these comments. Chris, my first radio gig was interning for MJ. I learned how to not be an asshole. Chris Brown, damn, I remember all this. Holy shit. MJ was a complete a-hole to his people, and listen, I don't want to sit there and talk about other people, whether it's MJ or Bubba, I don't want to talk disparagingly about anybody. I just know that I've heard that over and over.
I've never minded.
Oh, so Nate will pick it up from here.
Back
to the comments.
Here was the thing is that we used to, when we came to town, we would needle all the morning shows that had bigger ratings than us.
That's kind of one of the rules in radio.
Yep. We needed them, and after we passed somebody, we didn't mention them. That's how it's supposed to go.
Right.
But if you can get under the skin of somebody that's doing better than you at that moment, then you're winning. Bubba got it. Bubba got it. Bubba never bothered us.
I don't know that we ever poked that bear, though.
Yeah, we did.
And
we poked at him. We threw his name out there. We used to announce him as the winner, use his real name, and announce him as the winner of our newest.
No, that was Schnitt.
We also
MJ.
did it with Clem.
We did it with Clem, too?
We did it with Clem, too. But Schnitt had a fit.
Elliot goes, I feel 13 again.
Who said that?
Elliot Hoops. All right, a couple more of these things here. Bubba sucks. Don't even lower yourselves to compare yourselves to him. He is a pig. Sharon, I understand everybody has a very passionate opinion about him. We're speaking solely from a broadcast, a radio broadcast standpoint.
And he was successful doing it.
Yeah, and not necessarily from a fan's point of view and how it affects the fan, but what they've accomplished. The boundaries that they definitely tested along the way. So I definitely put Bubba in the same category as Ron and Ron and those others.
Oh, he did. I mean, what he did was he did some groundbreaking thing. Did I ever tell you about when he saw me out after I got fired?
No.
Yeah, he came up and told me he was really sorry that the place was worse for not having me. And really always enjoyed what I did because I guess they used to tape us to listen. But he came up with his posse.
You would have been great on that show. I think I even tried to talk to you about that. Like, do you want to go over to Bubba's show? But you were done with radio.
I was done.
Yeah.
I didn't want anything else to do with it.
I think your grit and your sense of humor would have been perfect over there.
I think that I would have been the mild one over there. To tell you the truth,
it could have killed you. It might have killed you.
I could have went off the deep end.
Right.
I mean, because I was not opposed to pushing the limits.
Trying new things.
Yeah. I was not back then, and I'm a different guy now, that's for sure.
But we better be.
Back then, I could have easily ended up in a gutter.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
I know that.
I used to go to Vegas or New Orleans, and I was at least realized enough about myself to go. I couldn't live in either of these cities. I love them, but I wouldn't make it 2 weeks here.
Some more comments before we move on. Well, you're doing fine, man. Now you're a business owner. You drive a Mercedes.
I do.
And how many employees do you have?
Just me, man.
Just you?
I do it all on my own, man.
You do you get Edward Scissors and you got 2 haircuts going at once?
No, man. I do about 17, 18 haircuts a day. Just sit them in and half-hour set mix. Bring them in, push them out.
Can you meet a person and not see their hair? Like, or now that you're in that industry, are you judging everybody's haircut? Oh my gosh, that person put $8 for that. Floby over there.
Not so much, but I can identify my haircut on the street from looking at the back of somebody's head.
You put your initials in it? Is that why?
No.
Where they can't see it?
I'm a man of very particular skills, but
I love it.
I can tell other people's haircuts. I can tell who cut your hair. Not you, because I don't know.
What do you think?
I mean, around Knoxville.
Oh, okay. You don't want to
honestly
make a snap
judgment? It's not a bad haircut. I can do better.
That's fair. Oh no, it's fine. Keep going. What do you think? Wait, am I here?
No.
What do you mean you don't do?
First of all, you're using, if you have product in it right now, you're using the wrong product.
No product.
Okay.
Just the ethnicity.
Let me see the back.
Oh, the back. The back ain't going to be great.
No. Actually, they did it right. What I'd like to see is just a little bit more of a fade on it.
You know who did
I'd like
this
to
fade?
see you get closer through the temples.
This is my work.
You did it yourself?
My work. We had my brother and I in college had the worst haircut experiences our first year in Gainesville. I had a barber grab me by the head, and he goes like this. He goes like that, and he goes, "We're going to do 7 all the way around." And then he just 7'd me all the way around, and I was like, "Well, guess what, Michael? We're learning how to cut hair, and we're doing it today." So for ever since freshman year of high school, of college, just been doing it with one hand in the mirror, the other hand back here with the clippers, and you just have to accept.
That's the reason why I said I'd use a little bit more of fade on it.
Yeah.
My kid brother and I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Growing up in Winter Garden, we had one barber on Plant Street that was deaf. And so you'd walk up there with a note to tell him what you wanted, and he gave you exactly what he wanted. Nice. And which was not on the notes.
Right.
So that wasn't a misstatement when you said he gave you exactly what he wanted.
Exactly. And so, it was...
you were bartering with your first offer.
You know
May
what?
I please have high top fade? He was like cornrows.
Look, the industry's different. Back then, barbers made hair shorter. Mm-hmm. That's it. Okay.
And they had their own way of doing it. You either took it or you didn't.
But
or your mom's cutting your hair.
But look, yeah. But we're at a time right now, and I only do men's haircuts. I specialize in men's haircuts, and I luckily got into that part of the industry at a point where it was exploding, just before it exploded. I was on the ground floor at specializing in making men look like the man they see in their head. Okay? And giving them permission to do that. You're not wearing hair product. In Tennessee... In a very conservative part on the foothills of Appalachia, these guys, they're not effeminate fellas. And they've been told for a long time, or they believe that putting a little hair product in your hair makes you effeminate. And that's not true. It makes you have a good looking haircut is what it does. Mm-hmm. And so if another fella that's not a sissy can say to him, hey, look, brother, you can put this in there. It looks good. You're gonna meet a lot more women. So how I censored that, but
you wanted to say bitches?
No, I was going to say something much more sexual. and I put him in. I put him in.
Thank you.
Yeah, I put him in my chair and I talk to him like another dude does, and they go, "Oh, it's okay." And you put it in, and then you show them. There have been generations of guys here that when we used to be kids, we would have a sleepover with our buddies, and we would be talking about, we were trying to steal our dad's nudie books and pass them around, or we would be trying to sneak a cigarette, or we're talking about who the greatest baseball player is of all time, like we had ever seen Babe Ruth. And yet the little girls would get together and they would play with each other's hair. As we got older, our moms would send us to a deaf barber, and he would make our hair shorter, and when it would stick up in front, she would lick it and pat it down. When we got to be 16, our dad says, here's a comb, run something through that hair. And that's all we knew of our hair. Mm-hmm. We can do better. And I do better. And I showed them. So about the time I started doing men's hair was when you would walk into Walgreens, and there was a section for men's hair on an aisle that was only about 3 feet wide and went from the top to the bottom. You walk in there now, men have a dedicated aisle on both sides from one side to the other. This industry is blown up. Mm-hmm. And every day I get to stand behind a chair, and I physically get to put my hands on somebody and change how they feel about themselves. Change how they see themselves.
I like the passionate haircut conversation.
Well, this is inspirational.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not even kidding. This is inspirational.
And you have that ability to sit behind a mic every day. But the thing is that I give that guy a chance to see in the mirror the guy that he sees in his head. Mm-hmm. All right, and that's going to give him that confidence to ask a girl out, ask her to marry him, ask for a raise, go to a job interview, all these things, because when you think you look good, you feel good.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I put a haircut on somebody that I've tried to warn them against, but that's their haircut. That's the one they want. And they see themselves, and in their mind they look good, and that's exactly what they want. So I do it to the best of my ability to make them feel good. And it works. Or you have somebody come in and have no idea. They just know that when they look at themselves, that they just see blah.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, trust me. And I, it's like getting a fitted suit. I don't make a haircut off the rack. I fit it to your head shape, to your face shape, the kind of texture you have, your hair. And that's what matters over and over again. And so, yeah, I feel like I have a job that's not a job or an occupation. It's a vocation now. It feels a lot like a calling. And, I can play it off and go, yeah. When somebody asks what you do, I'm a barber. And then, they see you leave and jump in a bright red Mercedes, and they kind of go, oh, barbering must be good. Well, there is a difference between me making somebody's hair shorter and me giving them a good experience. So.
Well, yeah, and it's what you're talking about with that internal perception of yourself matching what you see in the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably even a goal of yours, I'm guessing, in some ways, to make sure what they see in the mirror eclipses what they thought they could even be. Because then when they leave the house, they're like, all right, tonight's the night. Things are going to go well for me.
And if there happens to be one barber out there listening, if they're just and I put this up on my Gentleman About Town page, and there are a lot of barbers and hairstylists follow this, so hopefully they're listening. Look, how people look and feel about themselves, or how they see themselves, matters on how they feel about themselves. Mm-hmm. This is not just a beauty industry. This is a kind of a healing industry. You got to have a bit of a servant's heart. You have to have very much a servant's heart. And something I've learned being in radio all those years has really helped me with this. Because was it Taft or was it Shark that said to us, you're already the star. Your name is on the name of the show. It's Fisher and Napoleon. You're already the star of the show. Don't try to out-joke the person you're interviewing. Build them up. Let them be the star. Let them shine through. You look good in retrospect.
That was I don't remember anybody saying that, and that's probably why I was such a horrible interviewer for so long. Because
you don't remember that?
I don't recall that. Well, I do. They're
saying you're trying to. They yelled at us for out joking the guy.
I remember those conversations about the one-upmanship. Like he would get a joke, meaning basically, and this happens. It's very common with comedians, ensembles, these kinds of things, where someone gets a joke off, the other guy gets a joke off too, and then that kind of sparks another joke and another joke, joke. And so next thing you know, you're kind of going back and forth, and you're forgetting about the audience, not realizing that those first two jokes were perfect. And that's all you needed. Now move on to the next thing, because now you're just watering down that first punchline or the first two punchlines or whatever with every one you would try to do after that. So yeah, I do know what you're talking about. Now in the interview thing, it took me years, Nate, because radio for me was, and still, I mean, it's still part of my DNA because I do it here too. There needs to be a connection for me. Like this is a connection. This is a relationship. And in the show that it was a relationship with the community, and the people that were listening. So when we'd have somebody in to interview, and really it took a long time to realize this about me, is I wanted to connect with the comedian or the artist or whoever was in, and I would forget some very fundamental things about interviewing. Yeah. And because I felt good about the interview if I had connected with them after it was over. It's like, oh, we had a connection. Now I feel good about it, so it must have been a good interview. Not necessarily. Not only that, but it doesn't work every time. Nope. Because they're not in there to connect with you, and and they can see what you're doing. They know they can tell what's going on here, and so yeah, it's not always a good interview. Sometimes you get a good one.
We got a pattern down with comedians that was better. It turns out the stand-up comedians like to come on our show.
But were they the best interview? I almost am worried that they liked us so much.
Some of them were, some of them weren't. You had like Joe Rogan that came on a couple of times. Mary came in hobbled after he was on crutches one time. He was still doing Fear Factor, and he was at the Improv, and he came in, and that was a good interview. And we told him that Gary Valentine was going to come in a couple weeks. And he's like, "Oh, I love Gary Valentine. He's a nice guy." All that. Gary Valentine came in, and he was terrible.
He was an a-hole. He was a jerk right from the beginning.
Yep. Kevin James' brother.
Yeah, I got him hooked up with free golf, and he still acted like an a-hole. Yeah. To you guys, because I didn't go out and play golf with you.
I went out there. He was a jerk. I left after 9 holes. I'm like, can't stand this guy. And we told him, but one of the things we used to tell them when they would come into the show is, don't do your bit. At first we would do like anybody. They'd come in and do their bit. We're like, stop doing your bit. Don't do your jokes. We don't usually laugh out loud on our show. Have a good time. This is what we're talking about. If you want to get in on the conversation, cool. But please, let's not do, hey, so I was on vacation with my family last week. That's not what we're looking for.
It's not built for premises. That's not what your guys' show is built around, I'm guessing.
It never was, but it was for other morning shows. We just sounded different.
Here's what I'd like to do. If you could, I want you to sit here, and you guys, I want you to read some of this stuff while I go downstairs and pee.
Go do it.
Because I don't want to cut the show off. We guys still got to get to the shame game. But come over here, and then you guys can talk about it. Nate, you stay right there. Stay right where you are. And
I get to pee at some point.
Oh, you got.
I can hold it.
All right, so just
sure.
Let's see. You and Nate can have a couple of discussions there. Use this mouse and this rolly thing there.
You want this on this face or no?
Oh, yeah. What did I do here? Oh, there we go.
Right on.
There you go. I'll be right back.
What's happening, friends? How you guys doing out there? How about Nate, guys? Nate does not mess around whatsoever. So that's pretty rad. You guys got a lot of love out here, man. From how long ago was the show on?
Oh, brother. How? I don't know. It's been over. Oh, yeah. It's been 10? Way over 10 years. Probably closer to 12 at this point. When we ended the show, we had, I think it was into the third year that 97X was still open.
Right.
Or had just opened. And it was, it was what it was. And then I kicked around town for a couple of years before I decided to become a hillbilly.
Hey, man, but you're getting a lot of love out here about your haircuts. And, I mean, the one thing we're talking about that we didn't even really get to, beards.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're talking about the aisle at Target or wherever you might be shopping, it's one side is hair and the other half might be hair and the other part's beards, waxes, balms. I mean, it's this new growing thing for however long.
It's true, and it exploded. But I will tell you this. This is what I believe. Excuse me. And this is just a prediction from inside the community, is that it became like craft beer. Everybody could make their own beard oil and stuff like that. And it started showing up and everything. The fact is that beards are a fashion and a trend. They were popular at one time. Hell, mustaches were popular at one time. They just got creepy.
Right.
Beards are going to get creepy. Chest hair is going to come back. Everything's going to flux and move like that. And there you go.
Well, it's never going to go out of style. Beards, in my opinion, for those of us who don't have chins.
I was going to say for your people.
Yeah. when you need the pronounced chin.
I mean, all your statues had beards.
They did.
There's just no way of getting around that.
It's just. And you ever shaved it off? I've shaved it off before, and people looked at me like I had been severely injured.
Oh,
like what happened?
I
cut it too close, and it's summertime, so I figured I'd just shave it back. And verbatim, deadpan. Don't ever do that again.
Oh, wow.
Like I had said some sort of horrific joke.
See, I'm looking at your facial structure, and I think that you could do it. And I think that you could even pull off a shadow beard. But
I like just getting a little,
but with me, how long have I had this, guys? As longer than you've known me, but probably Orlando, I had this.
I don't remember, but I know you've had it a long time.
I've had my chin beard. The fact is that I have this weak Irish chin, and when this isn't there, I have this moon pie face. It looks a little bit like, I have a Todd.
Oh, sure. But that's kind of the fun, I'm sure, for you
with
hair and with beards in general, is you're sculpting something. Ironically enough, as you mentioned, statues, but you're sculpting something to accentuate features. Like this nose is very Greek. And so, like when I can get the beard going and get everything trimmed, and it's not like big thing here, big thing here, big thing here. You just sort of proportion things out to make everything presentable.
Sure. It's balance.
Yeah.
And there's some certain things that guys don't understand that a lot of women do. Because number one, men don't understand symmetry because they never really had to do makeup. But I refer to, and not so much to the fellas I'm working on, but I refer to the beards and facial hair as like man makeup. It can allow you, by changing the different sizes, lengths, and different features of it, to accentuate certain features, to de-emphasize certain things, just like women do with makeup.
Yeah.
Everything from your eyebrows to your mustache. All these things can be altered in certain ways.
Right, you're right.
And you're trying to achieve, men are, more angles on their face. You want to be more angular. And move more towards an oval shape. But so that's the reason why I have to drop this down long.
That's why I had mine for years.
I don't have much hair to stretch out. So you add hair here, beard here, and it stretches you out.
To wit. Is there something that's grounded in? Like, why are we going for ovular shapes?
Because throughout history, the best lovers have always had ovular shaped faces. They're the most attractive people. They've scored the most mates, if you will. And that's the reason why it happens.
Fascinating.
It's what it comes down to is just, honestly, there is a particular depiction of beauty. And if we look through history, it tends to have a certain face shape.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Well, all right.
Cool.
I don't know what comments you guys got to. Kurt says hi, Kurt Schreiner.
Kurt, tell him hi.
And speaking of beards, he says he cuts his own hair until special events, and he has a guy that does his hair and beard.
Yep.
He says hello. Jan says, hair ninja. Oh. I always love that. Always love that.
The hair ninja.
Back in the day, he said that.
I didn't. Yeah, I was at first day of beauty school. They asked me, now you got to understand, I'm going to beauty school with these girls that are early 20s, and I'm in my mid 30s going through it, and already been a professional in several things. And when you go in your first day of class with this new group of like 30 girls, I'm the only dude. And they're going around, so why do you want to be a cosmetologist? Why do you want to be a stylist? What made you want to do this? And they got to me, and they're like, so what made you want to be a cosmetologist? And I'm like, I don't want to be. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I want to be a hair ninja. And I understood from day one, you have to position yourself apart from everybody if you're going to stand out from the crowd.
One thing that I realized listening to you talk today is you have a business mind I never saw before. You have a certain marketing mind that I've never seen. There's not a fog of everything in my head, and but the fact is that we had to be business minded all the time. We were constantly looking at stunts and promotions, anything to put us out there. But we had to be different, and you still have to be different. So the first day going, I don't want to be that. I want to be a hair ninja. And everybody thinks that's cool and funny, and they'll remember it a while. Well, the next question is, okay, why do you want to be a hair ninja? Now, this is where you solidify it. This is where you lock it in. What you say next counts. And what I said to him is that, well, one day I was, me and my girlfriend were sharing a shower, and I washed her hair and realized the things that can be done to a woman by massaging her head. And I figured, why not make money and dates, make a few days, for people. Made a few ladies' days. So, and I used to joke with the older ladies when they would come in during hair school, and you're having to do all the perms and the stuff that just makes you stink and you never do again after you're out of beauty school. When I would see these ladies, they would request me, and over again. And they're like, oh, thank God it was you. And I'm like, I saw you on my schedule, so I wore my tight pants today. And you'd lean them back into the, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, yeah, I lean these ladies back into the shampoo bowl. I wore my tight pants. I'm going to make a couple extra bucks and tips that day. And you would just do that, and I just set myself apart. Now, I have no natural talent for cutting hair. None. No natural talent for it at all. Nate.
But but what I do have is work ethic and technique that I would learn while everybody else was out that night blowing coke up their nose or slamming some shots or whatever, trying to act like they're the new, trying to act their version of what a hairstylist is.
They think they're the new Vidal Sassoon?
Yeah. I met him 3 months before he died.
Oh, that's a real person?
Amazing.
Oh, and he's dead?
I went out to the Sassoon Academy in L.A., and he came out there surprised while I was out there and signed a book for me. He was a brilliant old man. He looked like he was on death's door, but he was decked out in black silk from the top of his head to his feet. He had this ebony walking cane. He looked like his reputation.
Stylish.
Awesome.
He was the man.
Stylish.
But the thing is that I was willing to work at the technique where other people were just willing to rely on having a good eye or some things coming naturally to them. So what I ended up being able to do was build a foundation where now with my foundation, I can do any technique and I can design things by looking at them. I backward engineer stuff. My haircuts are always going to be the most consistent because there is a certain way that I approach it. And I have a million different ways to approach it, but there is a set way to approach it.
Is there a lot of this passion in the hair? Like if my hairstyle,
there's a lot of lip service. There's a lot of talk about in our business they call the tribe.
Because you seem like a man who is legit. I mean, you called it a vocation, but it seems like you've found your passion and you are living basically your dream.
Not necessarily. You got to understand is that if I could, the passion's there. It's not for the passion's not for the industry. The passion's for the outcome. The passion
changing a person's day, making a person's day.
I found a passion for it, and to make me money at the same time, and that's where the passion
the key.
comes.
That's the key.
I mean, that's Mike Rowe in this big is don't chase your passion, bring your passion with you, and so you can apply it to this. At times it's hard. Sometimes you're just like, I don't want to deal with another kid today, and I swear to God, this guy shows up late 4 times in a row. He's 15 minutes late to a 30-minute haircut every single time. He's 50% late all the time. You know, and you put it like that and you're like, I don't take breaks like that.
Right.
And so if you're 15 minutes late, you cause me to be, if I hustle through it, I'm 10 minutes late for the next person who had to sit there and wait that had a specific time to be there. Now, my tip's going down exponentially. There's frustrating things, and there's times when you go, I just don't want to work on Saturday. But I work on Saturday, man. Mm-hmm. I love my shop, and I have seriously accumulated one of the best clienteles anybody could ask for. And I'm not just talking by status or things like that. I mean, good people. I have kids I've been cutting their hair since they were 10 years old, and I'm seeing them off to college. Kids that were in high school, I'm seeing them cutting their hair before they go take the bar exam now. Wow.
That's cool.
These are cool things. Kid the other day, his mom brings him in, and it was his birthday a couple weeks before, and I give him a haircut, and she goes, we're off to the DMV. And I'm like, what? I look at he's like, I get my license today. That's the reason why I was coming in to get my haircut. That's a photo that's going to be on that kid's driver's license. He thought, I want to look cool for this. I'm going to go see Nate.
Are you going to do any hair while you're in town?
Absolutely not.
Are you sure? Elliot says, I'm due for a haircut if you have some time before you head back.
No. I have no time. It's Marsha's birthday. We're going to fog our brains after this a little bit. Well, not necessarily with fog. But maybe.
You never know.
But we're going to have a good time.
Okay.
And this weekend, and I'm going to get back on that Allegiant airline. Woo!
Good luck with that. I want to thank you for coming in because another guest that I had scheduled for or wanted to get in this week, Jesse Cage, is in town, and
cool.
and or did you ever meet Jesse? Yeah, you remember Jesse. And he and I did the F&K podcast together for a year. And he's on vacation. He's in town. I was like, oh man, come by the show, and he goes, no. And I was like, okay. He's like, he goes, you'll understand. I do not want to be on, not for 1 second this week. Being
sure.
on his game. He goes, I want to come back. He goes, I'll even come back just for your show. I'll take a day off. But for this week, because I don't know, he's had much time off since he left and went up to Atlanta last year. He goes, I can't. I just want to stay foggy all week long.
Dude, I have a set message on my phone, text message that I've set off probably 10 times since yesterday and today, or actually maybe since last night and this morning. Just on vacation. It goes, sorry, buddy, on vacation.
Smart.
Sorry, buddy, on vacation.
Super smart.
All right, I want to hit a couple more of these things, and then we'll get to the shame game, and then we can start a weekend.
Can I take a whiz?
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Which way is the pisser?
Straight down the stairs and then immediately to your right. Straight down the stairs, immediately to your right. Do you need to step out? Well, you will get to that in a second. Just go pee and come back.
Go do your thing. I'm going to even do one of these.
All right. Well, then.
Do you have enough time?
All right. Then right outside of that door,
Yeah.
or right outside the door, just keep going out that way, and there's a door. You can step out there.
I'm just going to ask people as I go down.
By the way, as you're going down there, our counter hit 20 people today, like viewing at one time, and that's I think the highest we've ever hit. All right, hold on. The highest we've ever hit with the show is
for obvious reasons. I mean,
is like 22 or like I think 20, 21, 22 is the highest we've hit so far at any one time.
Sorry for being
No, go do your thing.
Apologizing for? What are you apologize?
Listen, it's been a blast. The people that have been watching, you'll go back and watch the comments later, man. It's a lot of people have enjoyed it. They remember the shows from back in the day, and
oh, that's cool.
yeah. So, all right, go do your thing and come back up here, and we'll have some fun. All right, here.
It's a trip.
And that's hidden.
It was a trip.
Well, now you see. So when I got into radio, he was working at a hotel doing the overnights as they call them auditors. Does that sound right? Hotel auditor. And he would
desk?
Basically, yeah, at the front desk. But he's also, I don't know, whatever. He's working at a hotel in Winter Garden, Florida. And so I was doing the overnights at WXXL, Leesburg, Orlando, XL 106.7. And he would call in and just make me laugh. You see how he's such a character.
Yeah.
Let's talk shit about him all the time. He is a caricature of a human being. And so as my radio career progressed and I finally eventually ended up with my own show, he was the first person that was in my head. Now, I started a show with somebody else named Chaz Kelly, an incredible talent. And I called Nate. He was in Tennessee at the time. We were in Tallahassee. And I said, hey, man, do you want to come do radio with me? I can't pay you anything right now, but I think that we can put something together. And so he goes, I'll be right there. And literally packed up everything he owned in one suitcase, put it in his car, and drove to Tallahassee to live on my floor for a little while.
Get out of town.
Yeah. And then we went on to do a couple other things after that. But he was the king thespian back in school. So he like
really?
if there was
that shows through. Sure.
If there was a play at school and Nate Farmer was in that play, I'd go see it. If Nate Farmer's in the play, I'm going to see it or not. But so years later, he was the first person I met. Oh, and he and I also did improv together at SAC Comedy Theater in Orlando. And so he and I trained there for a year or something like that, and did some stuff on stage. And we used to talk back then, if we ever got together. So we did. We had a nice little run for however many, from 1996 to 2003 or something like that. I think was the run of.
It's cool you guys still get together and do these little one-offs here and there.
This was fun. I had him on the show via Skype when I first started this thing, and I piped because I'm like thinking, all right, I need to get try to learn this technology, get some people on that I trust. And it was a nice conversation, but this was cool.
Yeah.
Like there were times that I forgot that I was sitting here hosting the show. I'm just sitting here getting caught up in the stories.
Yeah.
But that's also his
sign of a good storyteller.
Yeah, one of his talents.
Yeah.
You've been in Knoxville for 10. Hey, beard oils are expensive, so I make. That's right, Kurt Schreiner. Oh, I'll tell him when he gets back up here. Schreiner makes his own beard oils that one day you need to sell, sir. One day you need to turn that. I want to see you at a flea market every weekend hawking your oils. Play that song, Fish. The one that you just pulled up? I'm not going to. I don't know what you put, Chris, but I don't want to click on it and go down that path because if it's copyrighted music, I can't play it anyway. Nate, you are just sexy. Give yourself credit. We'll have to make sure we tell him that when he comes back.
That was when he was dancing in front of the camera, giving everyone a free show.
And don't forget, as soon as he comes back up, we're going to get to the shame game and then wrap things up for today. I know we're already at an hour and 10 minutes, but give him a chance to do his thing and come back up and we'll do the shame game, pull up some mug shots and, judge people. Let's see here. Steve, you're the man from Bobby Williams.
Oh, my God. The big dog, Bobby Williams.
He's
a good dude.
By the way, and for those of you that don't know, he was in yesterday. Steve was in yesterday, and you may recognize him if you ever go to the hockey games from the Bolt Brigade and Thunder Alley.
Probably this face in particular.
That's the one. That's the one.
Some other poor contortion of nose and cheeks and.
You saw how excited my buddy Anthony. My buddy Anthony's been a season ticket holder for a long time.
Yeah,
and you saw how excited he got. There's that crazy guy from the Lightning. It's
been happening a little bit in weirder places. We went to the planetarium at SBC Gibbs campus the other day, and I'm reading about like Neptune and Saturn, and this lady's like, I know this guy. I know him. And I was like, oh, God, I hope it's... Because there's always a moment, I'm sure you felt it, you're like, they know me, I hope, from the thing I do.
Right.
And not from like, you might have hit my car the other day. how about you step outside and you go ahead and give me your insurance information? Like, no, I didn't. I needed your car. Like, you never know. You just don't know where people might know you from. You hope it's for your vocation.
Well, that happened to me a few weeks ago.
Oh no!
At Park and Rec, Wednesday night, 8 to midnight. I do karaoke. Now, I don't. I host karaoke every Wednesday night. So this guy comes up. He's been drinking. A younger, like mid-20s, and he comes up. Hey, you, just like you're talking about. You. He goes, man, I bet nobody even knows who you are here. And I'm thinking he recognizes me from the old radio days. And I go, I'm sure a couple people, know who I am around here, know me from back then. And he's like, no, man. Oh, my God. I can't believe it's you, dude. He starts going on. I can't believe it's you. He doesn't say my name, though. And he is really drunk. And so he goes, can I buy you a drink? I'm like, sure, man. And so his buddy comes, hey, man, come here. He's like, dude, look. It's Shooter McGavin. Which is not the first.
If you're going to get confused for someone, that's pretty good.
So I forget the actor's name, Shooter McGavin from, that was Happy Gilmore.
Tom.
I don't know.
That's not it.
We were just telling a story because he, Nate, I don't know if I even told you this in the beginning, but where we know Steven from, he is associated with the Tampa Bay Lightning and is the host of Thunder Alley and the the Bolt Brigade.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
shooting T-shirts off, general tomfoolery.
Well, that when we, maybe he told you, maybe I'm coming in late on this, but when we started doing our morning show here, everybody already had the football players, had the baseball players, and we started having, we decided we were going to embrace the Lightning, and who was Mark?
And the Predators, right?
And the Predators. And what was his name? Mark?
Not the Predators, the Storm. Mark
he was
Gullett.
Yeah.
Gullett.
He was our
Marketing.
at Wild, he was our promotions director, and then I guess he became promotions over there.
Marketing person, yep.
And he used to bring people in and bring us jerseys, and
that's the dream.
Yes, it was.
They actually made a jersey for me, for Fisher, and they thought that Head Injury Harry was a real person.
That's right.
So they brought us a Head Injury Harry jersey.
Yeah. I probably have that somewhere, I would imagine.
It would have been more apropos to bring him a helmet, but...
So, and that was one of the keys to why I think Head Injury Harry worked back then, is we never made those kind of jokes about Harry.
Never once.
There was never a joke about...
As a matter of fact, we defended him.
Right.
He's our boy.
Yep. There was never... I think that's one of the reasons why that bit did make it for as many years as it did. There was a couple reasons, Nate, why I got rid of Head Injury Harry, and I don't know if you remember.
It played out at one point.
At one point, yeah, I just was kind of not feeling it anymore. They had changed the technology in the way that I would have to do it, because I would actually pick up a phone in the studio, call another studio phone, and then punch that up through the board, right? And then I would sit here like this, so I'd have, let me get my phone. So this is how Head Injury Harry would go back in the day. So the thing would come on, Head Injury Harry time, and so I'd pull the mic away, I'd go, or no, because we start, hey Harry, how you doing this morning? How's everything? Whatever it was, I'd go like this, and then all of a sudden I'd go, we got an answer. Harry, hold on a second, slow down.
And then it was just a matter of, what's very strange is to see, we did it so long that Chris could go into that character, and we could end up having, and it almost like he had split his brain. Like he really didn't know what Harry was going to say next. And we would have a three-way conversation between two people that just went seamless and flawless.
I know this sounds really, really odd, and it's not relatable to everybody, because not everybody does character voices, right. For their job.
Right.
But that is one thing that I guess it's an anecdote. I don't know if that's the way everybody does it. But when I would go into those characters, whether it was him or Stinky Steve, or what, something would switch. And the stuff that would come out of my mouth, I swear, if you told me to write that like straight-brained, as Chris, it wouldn't come out of I have to put myself in this character, and then those weird things would come out of my mouth.
Stinky Steve came up as...
Hey guys, it's me, Stinky Steve.
Which was half Will Ferrell's version of Harry Carey, but he was a part-time laborer.
A day laborer.
He'd do day labor. So making some gazebos down here.
And he'd call us every day. When he called, he would always call very early, like 6 a.m., like first thing, because he's getting ready to get picked up to go out to a job. Mike, and you notice how I'm talking about these characters that I did in third person.
Yes. But Stinky Steve came about because there was a guy when we were doing radio in Daytona that worked at the nightclubs, and he was a janitor and bar back and everything like that. But when he would get done cleaning up everything, we'd be on the air, so he'd go get his donuts and bring them in. Now, you got to understand, I'm a smoker. You can probably smell it on me that I just came in here a little bit. But Steve used to make me go, holy cow, dude. And he would stink up our studio. It was like people were smoking in there. Mm-hmm. And we got to calling him Stinky Steve.
So he became, he lived on in infamy as a character on our show for a little while.
Yeah, well, we couldn't do it in Daytona because he was there, and it was just mean. But as soon as we got to Tampa,
well, what it was, because you were right about because what that impression was I'm not a good impressionist. So my bad impression of trying to do Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey came out as a completely different character altogether, which it works. I'm trying to mimic Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Nobody else can tell. It's so bad. But it's developed its own character. Guys, a little issues last weekend. I was putting up this gazebo, and a woman put a nice lemonade up in the window of her daughter's room. So I go to get it, of course.
And there
like,
she was,
Steve, that wasn't for you.
Bare-breasted.
Steve, how do you know that lemonade was for you? Maybe it was her daughter that lived. Oh, well, I'm sure it was for me because it was just so fresh and delicious, or whatever. So so it was a horrible version of whatever Will Ferrell was doing on SNL.
Can I get a cigarette?
Yeah. All right, let's hit a couple of, or let's hit our shame game and get.
Okay, I was like, let's make fun of some people now. This is where I love to live, right here in the.
Sharon, by the way, she had a couple things that she had put in here. One of them was she was not happy when you said that the show sucked there towards the end. She was giving us credit. She said it was very real and authentic or something along those lines, and she loved that.
Thanks.
She also says you are very sexy.
I am. No, thank you, Sharon.
All right, let's see. You have to be extremely high to fly Allegiant. Is this your first experience?
No, but it flies nonstop between Knoxville and St. Pete. If you book it 2 or 3 months in advance, it's $100 round trip ticket.
Oh wow, you can't.
So
beat that.
here's the deal. I tell people up there all the time, and it's an hour and 15-minute flight that's going to be delayed for an hour. So let's just.
Well, not only that, but once you get that $100, it's just, and then you go to sit down. They go, sir, that's another $10 for what? Well, you got the seat, but you were not allowed to sit in it until you give us $10. Well, your butt's not allowed to touch the seat until you give us another $10.
That $100 round trip ticket actually cost me a ride around $150 after a bag cost and whatever. But all right, so if you're in Knoxville and you need to get away for a long weekend to the beach. First of all, these hillbillies think that the beach is destined. I've tried to tell them that we here in Florida have tried to give the panhandle back to Alabama for years, and they won't take it. All right? That is not Florida, and it's not a real beach. That if you want waves, go to New Smyrna. If you want beauty, you come to the Gulf Coast. You go to St. Pete, Treasure Island.
And if you want toplessness,
if you can stand the Scientology, then you can go to Clearwater. I mean, just know that they're going to want you to hold some cans while you're there. But other than that, it's such a great deal. Now,
my wife's backing you up, by the way, on here. She says that's the same deal that they used going there. And
that's right.
For their bachelorette party.
And you know what? They stayed in an awesome place. They were out by Imes Nature Park, and they had like a castle that they booked for her friend's bachelorette party.
Yep.
Like I said, she has some smoking hot friends. I'm in town for a couple of days here, Laura, and I'm just saying, hook up. But for you swamp rats down here and you want to live the life of a hillbilly, what you need to do, if you have never visited this time of year, is incredible for the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. This is an amazing park. And it's the most visited national park in the country, over Yellowstone, over Jellystone.
I was going to say Jellystone's got to be up there.
Yeah, over Jellystone. I saw you go.
Saw me lean in.
Yeah. Over Yosemite. This is absolutely a treasure. It's great hiking, waterfalls, picturesque. And if you want to meet a local girl, all you have to do is promise her a job in dental care.
That's hilarious. By the way, Kurt says Christopher McDonald. That's his name. Shooter McGavin.
There we go. Nice.
When you were downstairs, and we were talking about that, him being recognized, from the Lightning now that he's out doing this stuff. He'll be just somewhere random, and someone goes, "I know you," and so I told him that it just happened to me like just 3-4 weeks ago, and it was a guy super drunk at one of my gigs, and he's like, "You, oh my God, I can't believe it's you." And he's like, nobody knows in here. And I'm like, well, I'm sure a couple people probably know who I am, They've listened to me on the radio before. No, man, he calls his best friend over. Oh my God, dude, you got to Shooter McGavin. He thought I was the actor that played Shooter McGavin. He's like, what are you drinking, man? And I'm like, well, I'm not Shooter McGavin, but I'll have a tequila. And he did not buy me a drink.
Oh, man.
The best part of the story. Dude, afterwards, he just disappeared. He got up to the bar, and I kind of sat there for a second. Then I realized he just turned his back to me and started talking to his buddy, and that was it.
Fisher, buddy, there's
what? Say it. Just say it.
You take the drink, and then you tell him. How many times have we, through our career, been recognized for who we were? And accepted the benefits of those. Well, now that we're not being recognized for who we are and mistaken for someone else,
still take the benefits?
Don't tell them till you get the bennies. The bennies are where it's all at now.
Oh, Jan's bringing up tales of Turtlehead Ted.
Daytona.
I have a feeling we're not going to get through all these comments.
Okay, well, we need to do.
This is it. I think this is it. So, all right, I'll make it quick. I can't make anything. I can't make any story quick. So, Turtlehead Ted was another intern. So, actually, this is a good discussion because this can lead into hazing and some of the things we've done to people, what was, done to us, and those kinds of things are not happening as much anymore. So, Turtlehead Ted.
Can I tell this one?
Sure.
Because this is coming from... He had more to do with the story. I get to watch it from the outside. So... we're at the WKRO in Daytona, the Crow, and our studio is on the second floor of the old Mercantile building down on International Speedway Boulevard. It is a historical building, and it overlooks the road. Well, things were not totally computerized absolutely yet, and so we had an intern named Ted. And at some point, we're going to do a long commercial break. At this commercial break, it is time for Fish and I to do whatever we have to do.
I'm going to go to the bathroom.
So Fisher says to Ted, he goes, Ted, as soon as this part's done, hit this button, and that's all you have to do. Hit this button, and everything will start firing off in a chain as it's supposed to. That's all you got to do. Just wait for that button. Ted's not a dumb guy, but he is nervous. I mean, everybody is the first time you get behind that board, no matter how simple it is, that one touch of a button is the scariest thing you ever do. Well, Fish runs to the restroom to do his morning stuff.
Downstairs.
Which was downstairs. No, it was kind of in the adjoining building that was up, so it was... Because I heard you go up the stairs. So I ran downstairs the other way to get a smoke. Now understand, I was a professional back then at smoking. I could smoke a cigarette and a live Ramones song and be back upstairs and not lose breath. I'm down there. I could hear the music playing from the little outdoor speaker, and all of a sudden there's silence. And I'm like, holy cow. And I'm like, okay, it's going to fire. It's going to fire. And then all of a sudden I hear, from outside the building, I hear, boom, 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 boom. And it's Fisher running up the stairs on the other side of the building, hauling ass. And I just hear, dunk, 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 dunk. And then I finally hear something fire. And I'm going, oh my God, what the hell's happened? I run upstairs, and now Fisher care of the rest of this.
Well, it's funny because my memory is slightly different, because I think you would walk straight out the studio, go out that top door and out the back, which was at the top. The bathroom was you had to go all the way down the hall, then down the stairs and all the way back. So I'm in the bathroom, and he's right, that whole setup is right, and I have to just real quick fire one off, and I'll get back up there. And so I hear the boom, 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 which immediately registered as Ted running out of the studio down the hall, which registered to me as, oh, crap, he messed up something. So I'm sitting there mid, boop, and I have a dilemma. Do I force it out? Or grab some toilet paper and break that sucker off and get up there? So I go flying up. I don't remember what I did, but I go flying upstairs, and I want to say that by the time I had gotten up there, you had actually walked back in from your smoke break and hit the button. We're back on.
That's what happened.
Okay. But then at that moment, because of Ted's error, and I was in mid-Turtlehead, he became Turtlehead Ted after that. And we told the whole story.
Yeah. He made it. But now what we did to Turtlehead, and what Jan is referring to on that, is during breastfeeding awareness week.
Oh my God!
We were making people for prizes do breastfeed from different animals. We did it from a goat. We had different things, but it ended with finding a woman in studio that was actually lactating at the time, that was willing to win tickets to have Turtlehead actually suckle.
Nurse. Yeah.
Jesus.
From that, and Turtlehead did it.
Yeah.
Turtlehead did it. He was not afraid.
Like a trooper. How could he do that and not know to press a button?
Well,
one of those is way more
natural.
More,
I was going to say, one's a lot more natural.
One says nature says,
okay,
I put this there and do this.
Yeah. Million years of biology just says, oh, you go there.
What was bad
but
about
tell you to press a button.
Turtlehead, the hard thing about abusing an intern like Turtlehead was that he was older than us. We were very young for how fast we made it up the ranks.
What didn't he use GI Bill money to end up going to like CSB or something? Yes. So he was actually older than us and from the military, so we should be giving him a hell of a lot more respect than we did.
Yeah, but we're like, hey, suck on this.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did he just not press the button?
I don't remember.
No, it was a very I think he was trying. He would see Fisher press a button and then move a pot, the slide. I think he pressed the button and dropped the pot and turned the thing
slider.
Off. So when I came back in, I just hit the next one.
Okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, let's get to the shame game. Thank you so much, man. A long show today. We're already at 1 hour and 30 minutes. Thank you so much for all the views, the likes, the shares. And my guests today are Nate Farmer.
Hey.
Nate Farmer, and also from Thunder Alley and the Bolt Brigade, Steven. So let's get to the shame game, gentlemen. And the shame game is very simple. This is where we bring up the Hillsborough County website. And you guys get ready to play along at home. Bring up the website and judge.
Oh, I didn't bring my glasses.
Oh, you can get. That's all right. You can get close, and we'll go one at a time in these things. So here, let me see if I remember if I did this right. Yeah, I did like this. Right, I would start here. All right, let me set this up then for everybody.
Okay, I can set this up right now. I'm just going to guess.
Lean back.
Can I guess? All right. I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to tell you what they're arrested for. Driving while black. This guy, he busted parole. He was probably just had a little something else in it. This guy standing shirtless in the street with a Pabst cut off jeans. This guy arrested for having one gnarly eye. That's just, you can't do that in public. Stealing weaves.
All right. Do you? We'll break this down one at a time here, and see how well you did, Nate. I like it. So the shame game.
The DWB here is a big one these days. You got to watch it.
The what? Driving while black. Yeah. Okay, we'll see. Is that an official? Is it written? Will it be on?
I didn't think it was till I had a black roommate, and I let him drive my car that doesn't have tinted windows, and he's in a red Mercedes with a white guy in there and still got pulled over. I've never been pulled over in that car.
And you think you're going, hey, were you speeding with this? You think he was driving while black?
I've heard of this and thought it's a true thing.
Yeah. One of the craziest experiences of my life with things like this is it was me, my brother, and our cousin who is he's a person of color. We're at a wedding in Tallahassee. one of your old stomping grounds. It's the three of us talking together, wearing suits. Woman comes over. She's nice, but not thinking it all the way through. She goes to our black friend or our cousin. We're going to need more bread at this table, and they don't have chairs at that table. And he was very calm. He's like, yeah, I don't work here. She's like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Doesn't look at me, doesn't look at my brother, looks at him.
Wow. That's being at a fancy party while black?
Yep. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Doing anything while black.
We were 15 and 17, or no, 14 and 16. That stuck with my brother and I ever since.
Oh, I'm sure.
And with your nose and beard, how many times you've been kicked off a plane?
Oh my, dude, you got no idea. It's funny. It's whatever prejudice you might have, it's projected onto me.
I'm serious.
It's like whichever one. Like,
I'm telling you, Greeks must catch it for a lot of reasons because of the olive skin.
Yeah.
Thick beards. I mean, you can go from Jewish to Italian, and I still say Italian. From Jewish to Italian to even Arab in some ways.
I get Middle Eastern the most, or Jewish, either one of those.
Have you ever had somebody try to?
Buddy.
Have you ever?
You gotta stay on the sun.
Have you ever had somebody try to feel you out?
Oh yeah.
Like trying to figure out what you are.
This is a verbatim from International Mall's Chick-fil-A. In front of it, someone came up to me and said, "Hey, where are you from?" Just added clear blue.
Just out of nowhere.
Clear blue.
And
I said, "I'm from Clearwater," and he goes, "No, like originally." And I was like, "Oh, you mean like my?" I was like, "I'm a American of Greek descent," and he goes, "With that accent." Come on, with that accent, that was like, you got to go.
With your accent.
I was with a buddy. I'm like, what accent? It's some people.
You have the most like non-accent.
Nope,
you sound like you're
zero
from
accent.
Somewhere in the Midwest. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, there have been times, man. It's time to pick up your things because I can either get confrontational.
At what point does it just become funny that you have to go? This is ridiculous.
It's fun to sort of just like, all right, well, it's in a weird way when you know exactly where danger is. You feel a little bit more safe because I'm like, oh, the danger's over there. So I'll just go this way. Yeah.
The questions have happened to me before. They used to happen at hair school mostly.
Really?
It still happened to me today.
About your sexuality?
Yeah. Well, you get asked about this. It goes, number one, hey, so do you have a girlfriend? And at first you're thinking, hey, okay, I can see where this is going. Nah, I ain't got a girlfriend. Are you married? Nope. Do you have a boyfriend? Yeah. No, I'm not gay. So then it just...
Does this mean I'm not getting in your pants?
Do you have a girlfriend? I'm not gay. That's when I first time. Do you have a girlfriend? Not gay. So I just go right there.
All right, let's get back to this.
Where are you from? Not Muslim.
Yeah.
That's how you need to skip right to it.
Is it one of those things when that happens to you and you can tell somebody's trying to feel you out to see if you're a terrorist or not and you're Greek? Is it so absurd that you do laugh like you just said, or after that moment passes, do you start to kind of boil it all?
There's a moment immediately. My immediate reaction is like, come on, like
just to knock the effer out.
You don't know anything about me. Like it's unnerving because it's catching you out of a certain area where you're know they're an aggressor, and as a result of them being an aggressor, I have to have something that comes to the surface that equals that sort of aggression, but at the same time, I need to keep everything diffused and de-escalated because the last thing I want to do, I have a fantastic couple of jobs. I'm not going to be on the news because I've gotten to a tussle in front of the Chick-fil-A at International Mall. That's the last thing I need at this point in my career.
Headlines: Muslim fights in front of Christian chicken.
They wouldn't ask.
Did you hear that? Muslim fights in front of Chick-fil-A, Christian Chick-fil-A.
Christian chicken place.
And now this is where you feel that you're compelled. You have to say, I am not Muslim. I am of Greek, American, of Greek descent. All right, so back to speaking of judging people based on exactly what they look like.
Oh, my God.
Let's get back to this. All right, so up first you said driving while black. So I'm going to say that's going to translate into he had a suspended license or something.
It's going to be driving while black and you end up with a mugshot means that you're going to get turn signal out and then resisting arrest.
Okay. What are you picking on this one?
I'm watching you guys play. This is
you're not comfortable with judging people.
Yeah, I just want to watch at this point. I want to get
All right. Then I'm going to go with.
It's not the same Kevin Smith that did Clerks, by the way. Just want to let you know.
All right, I'm going to say. All right, so it's not a homeless guy. He's too beefy to be a homeless guy, but he also looks like a guy that's not going to take any shit. And probably this is battery. We're going to go with battery on this one. All right, arrested on capious so a bench warrant felony. And let's see if we can find out any more information from
that. Meant that he did a little tweed, and then got pulled over and missed his court date.
Are you guys looking at?
That's a bench warrant. They offer bench warrants when you've missed a court date.
You see all those aliases. James, Dorian, Chris, Christopher, Kevin, Jimmy, Kevin. And
you realize that I have aliases on my record.
Subsequent battery / felony. Woohoo! 1 point for me.
For battery?
Right there at the bottom it says on the remark, subsequent battery / felony. Right there at the bottom. So you were saying when you got arrested for what?
I didn't get arrested.
Oh, you have aliases though.
But I had aliases because I got stopped for water ballooning a cop in high school.
What were you? So your aliases were what? Just the Nate
versus, Dog. Well, my friends were there, and we all started having fun with it. So we started just naming stuff.
Joran's watching. You remember Joran?
Yeah.
Joran's I see on here too.
Nice.
Yeah, he's doing very well too. He's opened up his own store. I want to say in St. Pete. I keep meaning to get back to him to have him on the show because he's got a lot of things going on. But all right, so back to the show.
Joran Oppolit?
Yep.
Yeah, I keep up with him. He's still doing.
Oh, okay.
He still does his church stuff.
Oh, that's right. Oh, and they got some kind of yoga thing or a wellness center or a meditation center or something like that, I think. Joran, sorry. He waves, by the way.
There you go.
All right. Next up here on the shame game, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this instead. We've got Ricardo and Nate. Go first, sir.
Oh, with Ricardo?
Oh, you already. All right, go ahead.
Well, I was just off the cuff, but looking at Ricardo, God, this is what's hard about this, because you can reveal some biases about yourself that you don't exactly want to admit.
You're exactly. That's why we do this.
I'm looking at this, and I'm going to let my biases come out.
That's what it's about.
He probably owns a restaurant and probably scored below an 80 on his inspection.
You got to watch your biases, man.
No kidding. Do you want to take a stab, or are you just going to sit back?
I'm just watching.
Okay.
I'm learning.
All right, so to me, then.
God, there's something about his face that says some kind of sexual assault.
Well, so you're feeling it, but you don't want to go down that path. You're saying it's up to you.
Not after Mexico's sending all their rapists, and he's obviously Spanish. You can't. You know what I'm saying?
Obviously, like he's obviously a terrorist.
Him? No, he's not obviously a terrorist. He's
Greek. He's Greek. He's American. He's American.
Greek. American of Greek descent.
We're all humans. Right? Jeezum's H.
Yeah, but they worship weird gods, Thor, and
all right, well,
here's some
of the guesses. You're leaning towards some kid stuff, but here's some guesses.
I'm sorry, but see, they already put him in orange, and there's something about I don't know. It seems sexual.
Okay, all right. So according to Sharon, he looks domestic violence, and Elliot says taped an NFL game and did not let them know. Did not get the consent from the NFL.
That's a good one.
And Joran just writes, quote, he's obviously Spanish, unquote.
Well, Ricardo Reyes.
All right. So I think, Ricardo's got a similar build and look in his face as the gentleman force. I'm going to go with battery on this guy, too. All right. And we click and find out here.
Not so much.
No.
Just easy, just simple possession of cocaine. Nothing fancy.
Why? Just let him do his thing. And it doesn't say, like, it would have been different if there was enough for it to be, like, selling, right?
It would be a different right. Just possession of cocaine. Let's see if there's anything. Driving. Okay, well, here's the thing. He's DUI, and so you get popped. You get popped. They're going to search your car, and the next thing you know, they find the cocaine. So
this is the worst game ever.
Worst game?
This is the worst game ever. It makes me feel dirty.
Nate, honestly, there is that's part of the design. The first time that we did this, and we're having some fun. This came into being because Chris McCarty on the show one day noticed the mugshot things just as the side ad, side ad, and it really bummed him out because he looked up there and he just saw 6 pictures that all looked somewhat like him. Black guys with dreadlocks or black guys without dreadlocks, and he was like, man, he's like, what the...
They're ruining the look for him. I can understand why they would get mad. I mean, if a bunch of bald white guys went around doing terrible things, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's another bald white. I'd probably
there's plenty of bald white guys, but they'll be peppered in with everybody else there. But in this one particular day, it was just all black guys, right? And so he just got a little bummed. But then we talked about it, and it, long story longer, it turned into this bit, which is, listen, we all have a tendency to, we all have prejudices, and as soon as you see a person, you're going to start making assumptions, based on the knowledge, the things you can see, smell, hear coming, your way. And so we try to have fun and go, listen.
But did you see how righteous you felt when you guessed the guy did battery?
And I was right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was self-righteousness more than just you're raised to want to win. And so in those moments,
but
it's more the competitive thing of like, I was right. Oh, wait, I was right about something horrible. I feel so sorry.
Yeah. Well, because right now there's a victim going, I really wish it would have been for him running a stop sign. But as it turns out, no, I got smacked in the face for that picture.
But remember, the premise of this bit is to go, hey, we shouldn't be judging people based on the way they look. But it seems to be a part of us. So let's do it once a week.
Sometimes it seems right. Obviously, you were right.
And sometimes you're wrong.
I'm so glad Ricardo didn't rape somebody. But I'm also glad I don't feel validated that he did.
That's fine. You're a better human being than I am. That's all that means.
Ricardo, my bad, brother. Keep doing that coke.
But Nate, the first week we did this, though, we get on we hit this one white guy, middle-aged, got this certain look about him, and everybody on the comment section, me and Chris, we just all shook our heads and went, kid stuff. No, kid stuff. Kid stuff. No. He just looked kid stuff. We're like, oh my gosh, Steph, I mean, that is a pedophile 10 miles away.
Yeah.
And we click on it. It was driving on a suspended license. And you're just like, oh my. You feel like such a jerk,
Yeah.
But that's also the point here. We're having fun with this, and whatever. But at the same time, it does remind you that you do have your own prejudices, and this is just we're giving everybody a safe space where we think it's okay to judge because they've already been arrested and they've already got mugshots. So you've got that safe space to get your
But you see, with these same pictures, you could also just put up people's driver's license pictures. And at that point, and they're not actually mugshots, you could do that with a guest in here and fool them and let them guess what these people did. They did absolutely nothing. They're just driver's license pictures.
Right. And they have clean records. You're right. All of them have.
And there's where you'll find the biases come out. Now, if that's the exercise you want to do.
That's too much work. This one, I just go to the Hillsborough County website and click a couple of times and the work's done for me.
At least they are criminals for something, I guess.
All right, next, not necessarily. They still haven't gone through the process, but here we go. So next up here is...
This has got to be public drunkenness.
Public drunkenness, okay. Well, I like this. You say I like because he looks a little weathered and kind of on the skinny side. I'm gonna say this guy's been in the street for a little bit.
Public drunkenness.
Public drunkenness, loitering or trespassing, something like that. Possession.
God, that just looks pure Daytona to me. I know it was in Hillsborough, but it looks pure Daytona to me.
All right, I'm going petty theft with this one. I'm going to go petty theft.
Where you at, bro?
Observing.
He's just observing.
You're not? I'm the clerk of the court right now.
Oh, okay.
Stenographer.
Right. That's hilarious. All right, here we go. Trespass on property other than structure. So, yeah, I was right. He is a homeless guy, even though I went with petty theft on it. Trespass. Okay. That's these. Now that we've done this 3 or 4 weeks, you start seeing patterns too.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And the guy that looks homeless is going to have one of those: the trespassing or simple possession, or like you said, open container, something like that. All right. So this gentleman here, we have two. Oh shoot! I already clicked on it. Did you just read?
I didn't. No, I didn't. I can't. I can't read it anyway.
Oh, it doesn't have one.
I was going to say this is probably like some kind of fight in public. Somebody knocked his eye crazy.
Well, I'm just going to assume that his eye was not crazy, but has been like that for
a while.
For
and made him angry enough to fight somebody. I can see that. I can see that.
Beefy guy's hair slicked back. He's got a. I don't like that. He's got a little smirk. He's kind of like screw.
It's
the
a little
system.
druggy. It looks like that's a guy that's slinging Molly.
Okay. All right. We're gonna go with
slinging designer drugs down the channel side.
He tried to teach his wife a lesson.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Domestica. I'm going to go with Domestica on this one.
Domestic?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Hitting buttons.
We had trouble getting a charge for Joel. I guess you already let's see if we can find anything here. Remark, Berg on a dwelling. Grand theft. Wait, there's a remark here called grand theft. Traffic in stolen property. False info to a power or something.
Oh, he's a fence.
Okay, so he's he's fencing stuff. Or
somebody had a watch that didn't belong to them and was trying to sell it.
All right, he's also got a resisting a Leo, no violence. What's that mean when there's resisting an officer, no violence? Does that just simply mean, hey, don't touch me or don't talk to me or I'm not going to do what you say?
Causing a scene.
Okay. Impersonating Jay Moore.
That's a good one. Who was that?
That was Elliot again.
Good for Elliot.
There you go. Impersonating Jay Moore.
Remember when Jay Moore tried to get you to switch girlfriends?
Switch girlfriends?
Yeah, he wanted to swing with you and your girlfriend.
I don't know. I mean, he was a very friendly. You think that's what was... He never said that directly. You're thinking? Or do you remember it differently?
Did he say it with his eyes?
I just remember you and your girlfriend being totally, totally creeped out. And he didn't offer it until I left the room.
Are you talking about when we were at the Improv?
Yes.
I don't know. I oppressed it. If he was direct about it, and also I'm very naive. Like if you were hinting about it, I would see those as jokes. So maybe you had a talk with the then girlfriend afterwards, and she was like, "No, he was trying to get us back to the hotel."
No, I think we talked, the three of us together after the show.
Oh, okay, I know. Well,
because she wanted to just go home.
I didn't want to be a part of that. I'm sure. I wasn't trying to talk her into it.
You weren't into that kind of stuff. No.
All right. Sharon says you can be brought up. You can get that charge of resisting a Leo without violence if they go, "Give me your name," and you say no. I don't know if that's. I mean, that's Sharon. She's a great math teacher. She's got her master's, but she's not a lawyer.
Is Sharon speaking from experience?
It's a good question.
Just kidding, Sharon. Just kidding.
All right, and lastly on the shame game, ladies and gentlemen, let's see here. Oh, I can keep clicking on it.
I don't know. I can't read it without my glasses, so don't worry. I can't read it. One more time. Let's see if I can get this one right. It's like I can draw the situation up in my head, but I can't exactly tell you what the charge would be. So
if I gave her if you got a locket of her hair and would you be able to, would the vision come to you better?
No, this looks like a fight. This looked like a fight that happened.
Okay.
Because the hair's kind of a little bit disjointed, but not off her head yet.
Okay. I like bad check on this one. I like bad check. All right.
People still do checks under 300. Oh, you did it.
All right. False info on pawnbroker form. Oh, so I wonder if
she was.
Whoops. Here we go. False info on a pawnbroker form.
Trying to say something was worth something that it wasn't. I don't know.
So why is it's so weird? You'd think that would be just covered like in some like a generic fraud category, but you try to defraud pawnbrokers, it goes into a special.
So many of these charges and laws, and hey, look, our leaders have to validate their existence, I guess.
False info. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. The shame. Another wonderful edition of the shame game, where during it we have we laugh and we feel a little uncomfortable while we're laughing.
Oh no, I really. That's a terrible way to end the show, buddy. I mean, I'm walking out of here. I was all high and on a cloud. I'm walking out of here going, I do my best not to make eye contact with homeless people in the street so I don't feel bad about stuff. And then you bring this kind of stuff into me. I don't need that in my life.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for being here today, Nate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. I loved it.
The guest that we have on the show Monday is, if you guys ever listen to, well, if you're Hispanic and you listen to Ray's Baseball on the radio, Enrique, do you remember how you say his last name? He's blonde. He is, I hate.
Iglesias, right?
Is it, This is why we stopped doing a show together.
You should really look up Enrique Iglesias and see what comes up, buddy.
Enrique Oliu, and he is blind and calls the games for the Rays and been doing so for a long, long time. Somebody in the community that I've wanted to interview for a very long time, and Cords happened to be at a function. I don't know the story actually, but was chatting it up with him and got him on the show. So he'll be on the show on Monday and is going to be my guest or host the entire time. Very excited about that. Coming up on Monday's show. Steven, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sorry that the conversation got out of.
No. This was fantastic. Right. I got to learn from two of the industry veterans. So thank you.
Sure. And thank you all for watching the Wake.Show today. Listen, some things are changing around here, and we really didn't get a chance to get into that today because don't know exactly what those changes are going to be. But we will figure it out, and we'll see what happens as we get into next week. Thank you.
That sounds foreboding.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
We can get into it later.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk here in a minute. So thank you. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys, I think, on Monday. Bye-bye.